Grapsody with Will, Phil, and Reg, trying to keep it real instead of what you usually get from these talking heads. It's Grapsody, we're here to fill the void. 3 black fans, different perspective, gotta fill your voice. Coming with the podcast, talking majors, indies in between, yeah, it's all that. And we're down with Fightful, better fall back. Coming for respect, we connect like a ball bat. No need to double check, these are all facts. You're listening to us talk raps. You're listening to us talk raps. Will, Phil, and Reg. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps. Yeah, we're Grapsody, here to talk raps.
Welcome. It is Saturday. It's noon. You know what that means. This is Grapsody. I'm Phil Lindsey. Of course, I am here with my co-host as always, Righteous Reg. What's going on?
In the building, your favorite rapper, your favorite writer, your favorite podcaster. It's Saturday morning. It's Grapsody. I'm feeling good, Philip Lindsey. We got a guest today. I'm excited about it. Let's get into it.
Yeah, we do have a guest. Big homie A.O. Baker is here.
Peace. Appreciate you, you fine gentlemen, having me on as a guest this week.
Yeah, numerous things you do. Signature Move Show, Ringside Club. What else you got on your jacket? Because I feel like I'm probably leaving some stuff out.
Yes.
Nah, I do quite a bit. I'm a writer, professional writer. I write for an ad agency called Atlantic New York. So I've done stuff for TikTok. I've done stuff for Prime Video. Working on a bunch of big ones right now on a particular brand that you can probably find on every aisle in whatever supermarket you shop at. So That's what I do during the day. Rapper, producer, put a project out. Last November was the most recent project called No Flows Barred, featuring Rich Latta, featuring Graham from Public Enemies, and of course Heartbreak Julio, who I saw for the first time on your show.
Let's go.
Really?
That's pretty much how I met Julio. I was at the gym, I had Grapsody on, I hit him up, and that was how we connected and all that.
That's dope.
Yeah, and then of course like Signature Move Show, the Ringside Club. I'm 1/3 of that, alongside my man Chad Law and Blaine Boogie, who you might see his work. He's him and Hal Haney put those CMFTR shirts together. Done a bunch of merch for FTR, ring gear for FTR, plus all of the Griselda stuff. You know, he does all of the visuals for that. Did this logo for the Signature Move as well. And then last but not least, long ass list of stuff that I do.
Now,
but
keep going.
I own a hat company called Part of My Fresh. So we just made a drop about 2 weeks ago. It's called the Y Pink. I'm wearing that hat right now. This is what it looks like, black on black leather with a pink strap back. So that's available at partofmyfresh.com. But yeah, everything I do is at my personal website. Is madebyAOBaker.com.
That's hard.
Man.
Appreciate you. That's a great intro. A lot of you're very tapped in, is what I'd like to say.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I just pretty much try to design what my 24 hours looks like, full of things that I would rather do than not do. You know what I mean? So that's my life.
Yeah, a lot of mutual friends, name dropped in there. Homie Graham, Julio, of course. I somehow missed Julio when I was in New York, which I don't know if he went to Grand Slam, because you're in New York, right?
Yeah, I'm actually 10 minutes from Grand Slam. I didn't go this year. I went last year. Okay. I caught it, but I was just like kind of caught up with some work, so I watched it, but I didn't get a chance to actually go. But I'm right in between. Like I'm 10 minutes from there. UBS Arena is in the area also. I'm right in the area.
Yeah. But yeah, man, that's dope. I know I remember you dropped the music with Graham. I remember the record you dropped with Julio. So man, that's dope. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say like, yeah. The cool thing about like Julio, like I was in the gym, and I had Grapsody on, and I'm listening. I'm like, yo, who is this guy? Like Julio is funny as hell. Like he's cool as hell. Guy, man. So I followed him, and this is I had the song with Graham, and I had the song with Rich Latta already done. I know I wanted to do 3. It was like a wrestling themed rap project, and I'm like, I'm trying to figure out who I'm gonna get for the song that ended up being named Signature Move. So it was like a perfect thing. I'm in the gym, I'm working out, I follow him, and then I tap into his music, and his like, yo, son is nice, right? And then I went into playing this one song called WrestleMania 3 that he put out. And I literally had that one song on repeat for the rest of the weekend. Hit him up on Monday, did the business, and he was the last guest I was booked for for that project. But it was literally because I was watching this and I'm like, yo, who is this guy? Who is Julio?
That's
And we
hard.
stayed in touch, man. And he's nice. He's putting, a bunch of projects out. He has a joint with a producer named Wolverine that just came out. Like he's staying busy. And he's like really, really dope. So tap into him as well as Graham and Rich Latter.
That's another one we can add on to our resume, Phil. Like we put songs together sometimes.
Yeah, y'all A&R the project.
I mean, it's what the game's like. We trying to talk crazy about your boys, but we are like all the way out here.
Man, Julio's music is dope. I remember like when I first started following him, and he was dropping music on there. He had a video on there, and I was like, nah, this music is actually fire though. So definitely tap in with him. Definitely got to get him back on. We had him on sometime last year, but we got to have him back on because he's
most definitely.
See, man, from every interaction I've had with him, seems like a great dude, very funny dude, very talented. He's got the podcast going as well.
Yeah, the Almanac Show. Everybody tap into the Almanac Show.
That's really dope.
Yeah, we we got a lot of basketball stuff throughout the week.
What happened last night? What happened last night, Philip Lindsey? Let's start there. Ayo's in New York too, so I'm sure he has very big thoughts on these things that happened last night. So I get on the internet, and everybody's going crazy because at first they were like, "Oh, yo, Karl Anthony Towns gonna pull up in New York," and everybody's like, "What? What?" Out of nowhere. So what happened here? Because I was just, chilling, watching TV. I didn't know what was going on.
So apparently Karl Anthony Towns and Dante DiVincenzo are heading to Minnesota. And sorry, got that backwards. They're going to New York. DiVincenzo and Randall are going to Minnesota. This is kind of wild because when they got Bridges earlier this offseason, they had brought all the Nova guys back together. So I was like, all right, so it looked like they kind of got a squad. You can add Randall to that, see how they mesh. They shipped Dante out before we can see what those four guys look like together. And you're adding Towns. Now, the crazy thing about it is Woj retired, so there was no Woj bomb. We just got the Shammy report. And then like everything that came out of it, like Towns at one point putting ellipses up there, like what's going on. I saw Hart this morning going, are you serious? But this is a wild time for me as a Bulls fan who, at our lowest point when we're losing, I could at least point and laugh and go, hey, at least we're not the Knicks. I can't do that anymore because it looks like the Knicks are going to actually be good.
I mean, yeah, this it's going to be hard at least.
At least we're not the Knicks is wild. At least we're not the Knicks is wild. Man, like, I feel a couple of ways about that trade. Like, just for starters, I think Karl Anthony Towns spaces the floor amazingly for the Knicks. So now they're going to be able to run in the paint. I just feel, on a personal level, right, I feel bad for Randall because this most recent rebuild started really with Randall. Yeah, and it's one of those cold games. Like, they just had this ceremony. Man, 2 days ago, I tweeted the picture out, but they named a park after Julius Randle.
Yes, dog.
You know what I mean? And he's, they're doing the ribbon cutting ceremonies and all that.
Oh my!
And then all of a sudden, it's like, nah, you're going to Minnesota, my bro. Like, you can come here in the summer, or
that's crazy.
In a
you come
game.
See your park when you have a game here, but not
cold.
All
game.
the that's crazy.
Cold game. And then of course, the dirt sheets of basketball, shall we say?
Dirt sheets.
While I was setting up, I saw somebody say something along the lines of like, yeah, well, DiVincenzo wasn't happy anyway of coming off of the bench, So I really wanted to see that combo and see how Randall fit into that combo. But at the end of the day, it's like the weird thing about sports fans is we root for the clothes, right? We root for these colors more so than we follow one particular player. So if it makes the Knicks better, it makes the Knicks better. But it's a cold game, bro. And it seemed like everybody found out when everybody else found out.
Right.
Yeah, it seems like Towns did not know what was going on. And I assume that's why he tweeted the ellipses. Could be wrong. But, man, everything about that is wild. Because like you said, man, going into the playoffs, Randall missed a considerable amount of time. And so immediately with their success making it as far as they did in the playoffs last year, people were like, all right, well, how does Randall fit in this? You know, they're going to be even better with Randall. And really kind of resurgence around the Knicks started with Randall. And then you brought in all these pieces around him. And so just the idea that now he's not even going to see the fruition of all of these trades. And it's kind of the same way with Towns, because Towns was their centerpiece at one point. They drafted him, and then they started building around him. And now you can see how this is becoming Anthony Edwards' team, and he's getting shipped out. He's not even getting to see where this team could go. This team almost made it to the finals last year, and I mean, big upset over the Denver Nuggets, and now it's like, all right, well, what does any of that mean? Like, it all happened so fast.
Right. It's crazy because they've been saying the Knicks are next up. They're about to do it. And then, like you guys are saying, it's kind of built off the backs of what Randall started. And he's probably like getting ready in the gym, shooting like, yeah, we're about to do it this year. And they're like, actually, you're not about to do it. You're on your way to Minnesota, which is like from New York to Minnesota. There's always those things that are kind of connected to it too. It's like, what a unfortunate situation. And the craziest thing about it is like, it was 10:30 in California. 10:30 at night. So like what was going on?
It was like almost 1 a.m. here when I saw it.
I know I had Rampage on, and then I saw the news from Shams. I was like, I can't concentrate on anything right now. Like, what am I reading right now? What just happened? And then like you're looking at Coach Tibbs is reunited now with Karl Anthony Towns. Like, what's their dynamic? What does that look like now? Yeah. And we gave up a draft pick also, a first round.
I'm like, what was happening?
First round draft pick, DiVincenzo and Randall for Cat. We'll see. Yeah. I really wish the season started today.
I don't know what to make of all of this. Right away, I do think that Towns is an upgrade for you guys. He is younger. Towns isn't even 30 years old yet, which I think a lot of people are forgetting. There's a lot of criticism about Towns' play, his inconsistencies that's probably going to come up. But I do think that he meshes well with the 4 guys that you have now for that starting 5. Very curious to see how ISO Randall is going to work in Minnesota with Anthony Edwards. It seems like they're, betting the farm on Nazi Reed and whatever you're going to get out of Gobert. But I don't know, man. I don't know what to make of this for Minnesota. This seems like a bad trade for Minnesota on the surface, but it could work out.
Yeah, I don't understand it from their point of view, other than they're definitely just committing now to we're going in this direction, and we think this is going to be like, it's strange. It's strange, man. Yeah, but yeah, like to see Randall like kind of hold the ball for 15 seconds now. Those first couple of times was like, bro, I can't wait. I can't wait to see that.
Bro, those first few times where he comes up the floor and is waving off picks and it's like trying to cross somebody at the top of the key.
I got it.
It's gonna look
Call
crazy.
a timeout, bro. What are we doing
And
here?
they don't, and I don't know, man. I just don't know what to make of this for Minnesota. Like, I think more so for Minnesota, I'm confused by this trade than anything. Like the Knicks, this is an upgrade to me for them. Yeah. Minnesota, I'm just not sure why they would do this. I mean, I do on the business side, but I mean, as far as the team that you started building, I don't get it. Because I mean, you were gonna have to pay Cat $220 million, I think it was, over the next 4 years, and so they're just trying to offload that contract. But this is a team that almost made it to the finals, though. Like, I just don't.
Yeah, and again, with a young guy, 28, 29, I think he is. So it's not like he's already peaked. Even if he did peak, he's at his peak right now.
Right.
So continue and build with that, and let's see what we can do next year. Take a piece. I think a lot of times these teams, we've seen all these, teams in general, they get trigger happy and feel they have to make this big move and big splash and completely destroy the chemistry of a team and end up making themselves worse. So like I've lived through that. We did that with, a bunch of young guys, and then the Melo trade happened. And then once we peaked with Melo and then Stoudemire, punches the what was it, the fire extinguisher.
Yeah.
And then he's out, and then the playoffs are over, and then we never make it that far again, and then they blow the team up.
Yeah.
I've seen the Nets do it a ton of times. So we'll see. We'll see for Minnesota. For the Knicks, I think it's just a matter of like, they have a bunch of chemistry already. How does Cat fit into that? He spreads the floor. He can shoot the three. You can, he's a big guy. So it's definitely it's an upgrade from that point of view. I just wonder what the chemistry looks like. But at the end of the day, man, that's a cold game. It's like, nah, dog, you're actually going that way.
Timing is crazy too, because the season's about to start, and you change the whole trajectory of what Minnesota is. You got here, start out as a new team. Like, how do you do it so close to the beginning of the season? Is my question.
Yeah, that's basically school starts in a week and a half, but
right.
you're going to a different, like, oh, your friends, yeah, you can still call them. You can iMessage them.
You can watch them. You can congratulate them, but you're not about to be next to them.
DMs, but y'all ain't going to school together anymore. So it's one of those.
Man, but that's what I'm saying. Like, all the Nova guys had that big group phone call that they shared when they brought Mikal Bridges in. They were all excited.
That's crazy.
Now Dante's gone. I still
the suits are just watching that like, haha, real funny, guys. Enjoy this moment now.
Yeah, I still think Mikal Bridges is like a big gift for New York. I still think that's going to be huge for them. Curious to see how that core works now with Towns, but on the offensive side, they're going to put up some points. It's just, can they play some defense? That's going to be the question.
I mean, Tibbs is going to run them.
Of course.
Tibbs is going to run them.
If I know anything about Tibbs, he is definitely going to push them to play defense. He's not going to let you just go out there and score points, or you are going to be sitting next to him on that bench.
Yeah, I remember like during the playoffs last year, one of the criticisms, like his Achilles heel as far as criticism goes, is that he runs his guys like into the ground, like for years. So I'm just watching. Here's an injury. This guy goes down. Here's an injury. He goes down. Here's an injury. It's like we have 4 people left. Like Tibbs was almost about to suit up. It was almost like Tibbs time. And then we'll see. Like Cat isn't known for defense. He's not known for hustle. So we'll see.
That's a good segue because
I was gonna say good transition, yeah.
Other famous Tibbs player that he played with that also has some allegations of running him into the ground. Derrick Rose retired this week after, I believe, 16 years in the league.
Wild.
It was one of those things where I woke up and saw the news and I was like, dang, I was kind of hoping that he got maybe another year in, or maybe we got a season here, and he came and even signed a 1-day contract and just retired here. I felt like he deserved that, especially with the way that they treated him on the way out. Hated that. And as I said earlier, as a person that likes to laugh at the Knicks and doesn't really care for the Knicks as a team, imagine my feeling when they traded him to the Knicks. I was like, but yeah, what a career. Rookie of the year. I remember that rookie season, going head to head with the Boston Celtics after their championship in the playoffs. That's part of the reason to this day that I don't like Kevin Garnett. Him sitting on the bench talking shit like, man, they don't even belong in this game with him. I'm like, bro, you're from here, dog. Like, what are you talking about? You're not from Boston. You're from here. But man, Derrick in that playoff run, that was really his breakout. Man, just the way he played that year. Of course, I don't have to even get into the MVP season 2011. 60 wins, carried that team on his back. Had a certain obstacle in his way. We didn't make it all the way to the finals, but it's cool. We probably would have lost to Dallas anyway. But man, what a run. Of course, we're always going to have to talk about the what ifs of if he did not have multiple injuries and what could have been. It's bittersweet in some ways because, man, I was there for that entire run up to the 2011. I was there through all of the time that the team was bad and hoping we would get somebody like that. And for it to be a guy from here, Inglewood, Southside guy, one of us, and he lifted that team on his back the way he did. It was just a special time in the city, man. Even when he was hurt, and I think all of us remember where we were when he got hurt, and just that image of we're winning this game, man. We're playing Philadelphia Sixers. We're winning this game. I'm like, oh, we're up, man. We're going to the playoffs with Derrick again. And camera cuts back and he's on the ground. I was like, no, no.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the most painful days ever as a Chicago
Right.
Bulls fan, and it just continued to get worse and worse from there. The extended time that he was out, and I'll never forget, he was out for about a year. Comes back 2013. That season opener, I was at that game. Hits the game winner in that game. Too many moments like that of watching him hit game winners, watching him hit layups that he should not be able to hit, watching him just like implausibly dunk over guys. Like, you just had to be there for him at his prime, man. Like his athleticism, just like what he brought to the team, just his personality. One of my favorite moments for him that people bring up all the time is, of course, the All-Star game and him coming out and Brian and Dwight are dancing and grinning. He's just like, nah. And I was like, he's one of us. We don't do that, man. We don't do that. Like, it was one of the most Chicago things I've ever seen. And people were like, oh, he's just too cool. I was like, dog, he's one of us, man. He's a Southsider. We ain't on that.
I was like thinking, like, if Grapsody has a live show, that's exactly how it's gonna go. Like, I'm gonna come out and I'm gonna be like, yeah, get into this, and Phil's just gonna be on the side chilling, like, because that's just how it is. That moment is so iconic and makes me laugh every single time I see it. It makes me so happy. Yeah, Derrick Rose, man, like when Chicago, my childhood was Chicago dominating the ranks with, considerably the greatest basketball player of all time. Then things didn't go as great for a while, but then there was this shining light that brought him back to prominence. This prince named Derrick Rose that was dynamic in all the ways you could imagine a great basketball player being. Just quick, he could do moves, he could dunk, he could shoot threes. Like, he was the player that you would want to see, and he brought Chicago Bulls back to prominence again, back to who we love them as. And he connected me back to Chicago because, I had gotten back into, LA, Kobe and stuff like that over here. So I was like, oh yeah, no, Chicago's back on. Like it feels good. And hearing like my friend was connected to so many of these moments makes it feel even better, because like I was over here so excited for this guy in California, and to know that you got to be there for a lot of these moments makes it feel even better. I mean, despite all the injuries and the things that happened, still a Hall of Fame career to me. He went to multiple different places. He still played at a high level, even post a lot of those injuries. And he still was that driving, hungry ass player all the way up to the end.
Yeah, absolute legend. Youngest MVP in league history. That's, no matter what happened after that, can't take that away from him.
Yep.
I mean, for even like known Chicago Bulls hater Isaiah Thomas to be like, that's the guy. We were proud of him. It's one of the few times recently that I've agreed with Zeke, and I'm like, no, it's just, Derrick is the guy, man. Like, and I mean, there were so many moments. I know, like, the 2011 season is going to be like the shining moment. That's going to be the highlight. But there are so many moments after that. Him coming back 2013, of course, him hitting that game winner on the Cavs. Couldn't tell me nothing that night. I wanted to beat LeBron and that team so bad, and we went up 2 games. We went up 2-1, and he hit that game when I was like, bruh, nah, it's out of here, man. You got all of them calls in 2011, and man, the Bulls was eating their lunch during the season that year, killing Miami that year during the season. Annihilated these guys. First game of the Eastern Conference Finals. I'm like, oh man, they ain't fucking with us, man. They can't beat us. And then we proceeded to lose 4 games straight. But whatever. So when we came back in that Cavs series with Jimmy Butler, I was like, nah, man, we got Jimmy now. Derrick hit this game winner. We're out of here, man. Lost that series too. Which is just, it's such a
you got to remember the good times, Phil.
Yeah, I'm saying.
It's such a testament to being a Chicago fan and just being like extreme highs and extreme lows. And that's, man, Derrick in a nutshell. Like, extreme highs. So many great memories of watching him like do unbelievable stuff. Even like, because I would watch him as a Knick as well, because I had the league pass. Like, I specifically got league pass so I could watch him play. And so I watched a lot of those Knicks games, and he was still hooping over there.
Cool thing about Derrick Rose is I think like the unfortunate thing is he falls into that category of like, the Grant Hill, the McGrady, like the Penny.
Yep.
Like, damn, like if you really just could have stayed healthy, you're looking at one of the top 5 players, 10 players ever potentially, just because of the ability, like explosive first step, toughness, he had everything. He had it all. Unfortunately, just couldn't stay healthy. But I think the cool thing now is like when I got a chance to see him over here at on the Knicks, he was a veteran, right? So now I'm watching him like be like a big brother kind of to a lot of the younger guys coming up. So I wonder if because of his relationship with Tibbs and the history that he's had on the Bulls and on the Knicks with Tibbs, if the next step for him is some kind of, assistant coaching position, a point guard coach or whatever. Like I wonder what's next now for Rose. I really would like to see him, continue in a career in some capacity in basketball because just his experience, he's, even though he had all those health issues, he has 15, 16 years of being in the league, which there aren't that many people that can say that they've been around that long. So there's just so much game that he could give to people just from a day-to-day basis on top of, what you do on the court. But yeah, that guy, Hall of Famer, they should retire his jersey for sure.
I don't know if you guys have ever seen his documentary that came out at one point. I think it was on YouTube at one point, and it revealed like when he got the news that he was traded, and I was just so upset with how they handled it and just how they treated him on the way out. I thought he deserved much better than that. And I mean, guys aren't from here, so you don't know how bad the press here treated him towards the end as well. I didn't like that either. And I just know when they do retire his jerseys that there's going to be this big love fest, and it's going to bother me because I'm going to be like, y'all were not treating him like y'all should have when he was really going through it with the injuries. But it is what it is. Again, so many great memories. I was watching that entire game when he put up 50 in Minnesota, just sitting here tearing up because I was like, nah, because they said my guy was done. And he was cooking out there, man, watching him. And that's part of the reason I'm thinking, like, now, y'all sure y'all want to bank on Gobert? I remember that game. Derrick was eating that guy alive, dog.
Maybe he learned from it.
I've seen some games after that. I don't know. Y'all saw how Jokic was doing this guy in the playoffs this year. I don't know about that.
Jokic is the most hilarious, unintentionally hilarious player. Like he'll forget, I got a game today. All right, bet, and then drop 35. Like he just showed up. He woke up. Let me put the uniform on real quick. Like he's playing, he's playing park ball.
Word. It's like, all right, we got a game today. All right, I guess I'll be there.
Say less. See you there.
See you there.
No, I always laugh at that post interview he does where he's like, "Yeah, are you excited for the parade?" He's like, "No, I got to go home. How long is it? When is it?" No, I got to go home. But yeah, man, shout out to Derrick Rose, man. What a great career. Appreciate all the memories, all of the things. Even as a New York Knick, there are things that I saw over there from before. Like, oh, that's cool. I don't really love it, but like him going straight over there and like taking the pictures with Spike, and I'm just like, that's legendary. But also,
I get it, but damn,
yeah.
Knicks have done this a few times to me. I remember a few years ago because you guys got Tibbs, and Tibbs had a lot of success here. This was his first head coaching job, and I was like, damn, they got Tibbs, and then at some point they had Derrick, then they had Taj Gibson. I was like, all right. And so coming into
Taj is still lurking around.
Yeah, the story he told on Jeff Teague's podcast about he got a phone call and somebody was like, man, Tibbs gonna give you a call. Somebody got hurt. They might call you. And he's like, man, get out of here. And so he gets a phone call like late that night from Tibbs, like, hey, man, you think you can be ready? He's like, yeah.
My man was at Key Food just trying to. All right. It's like him and Jokic for two totally different reasons.
Hilarious. Shout out to Jeff Teague as well. His podcast is great.
Great
if you don't
podcast.
Watch it. He's great. Wrestling fan, did not know that. But yeah, man, Tibbs getting over there, and then I remember that year that you guys drafted Toppin, I was like, man, I want Obi here. And so when you draft him, I was like, man, New York Knicks keep getting all of these things that I want in Chicago and getting them to work. And I thought you guys should have kept Obi Toppin. He's actually been pretty good in Indiana.
Yeah, I thought I was surprised. I definitely would have wanted to hold on to Toppin, but man, like this is that what goes around. We had to live through the 6 championships, man.
I mean,
we had to live through the 6 championships. If
y'all
you believe
live through them too,
y'all
not
go.
live through them, live through them. You know what I
Here
mean?
y'all go.
through the prime of Patrick Ewing's career, there was Mike. So
Here y'all go, man. I just, y'all weren't, but that's part of the reason I'm not a big Knicks fan. Because throughout that time period, there are a lot of Knicks fans that I knew that were like, man, these Bulls and Jordan, they suck. I'm like, all right, man, well, we gonna see.
suck is one thing. That was not the case. That was pain. That was pain. I was a young guy learning about pain real early, man. Early. What made it? I was a Mike fan, right? More so than a Bulls fan. I was a Mike fan. Then that first retirement happened, and that was the year that the Knicks went to the finals. So I'm like, all right, now I'm starting to like really watch sports for the sport and root for the team. Lost to the Houston Rockets. I'm crying, and then Jordan comes back and then wins another 3. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
Come on, man.
I just remember hearing like Starks for 3 and off the side of the rim. Marv Albert. I have his voice on loop.
It's trauma in there still.
It's trauma, PTSD, bro.
Yeah, yeah. But that's something Knicks and Bulls fans have in common. Well, Chicago sports fans in general, and there's a lot of that trauma going around throughout the week. I was like, man, it's tough being a fan of these teams, man. White Sox are officially the worst team ever. 121 losses.
That's
complete
crazy,
trash.
man.
Tough team to watch. Watching them the other night where people thought they were gonna break the record and get the 121 games, and then they won that game and then proceeded to get booed by the Chicago White Sox fans because can't even lose correctly. Yeah.
So, you are supposed to you're supposed to do the job. Like, do the job.
We came for the job. Losing 120 games in baseball is crazy. Like, what are y'all doing?
Losing 121 games at anything is crazy.
Like, what?
Like, that's a bad number, bro. Like 121 games.
Y'all got to carry that too. Like, if you're one of them players, like, you was on that team, is crazy.
Yeah.
Y'all come back. It's not over for Chicago, Phil. Don't worry.
Don't feel too bad. It's Knicks, Mets, and Jets for me. So
I mean,
got
cold
that
world.
Got that Favre guy out there.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, man.
Listen, at least y'all have teams. They just come and snatch all of ours.
Yeah. So also the news for you. This is the end of the Oakland A's in Oakland. They're moving out of the city.
Crazy.
Their last game was this week, right?
Our team. Yeah, the last game was this week. Everybody was celebrating, crying. People are smoking in the stands. People are stealing the seats from the stands. People are getting dirt from like Oakland was being Oakland for sure. They're like, if this is it, this is it. And I'm like, I feel y'all, man. Like, we went through a crazy. Everybody knows the story of like they tried to get them to sell the team, but the millionaires didn't want to. Now they're moving to Sacramento to a AAA park, and like it doesn't make any sense. So Oakland is very upset. It's like they've gotten past the point of being mad where they're just sad. So it's like they just try to have a celebration this week. Last game happened. Everybody was super sad about it. And it's unfortunate. Like our basketball team crossed the bridge, which is a whole land away, stole our football team. And now our baseball team is going like, what's going on here?
Aren't the A's eventually going to Vegas also?
Yeah, that's the plan is like they're going to Vegas. It's like Vegas is what y'all doing over there?
Yeah.
Vegas is getting money now. We want all forms of sports money now.
Man, I don't know what's going on.
Oakland Raiders just don't sound right in Vegas. I just can't get used to it, man. Raiders are an Oakland team, man.
Every time I hear it and see it, I'm like, no, it doesn't. No,
it don't sound right, man.
I can't. My cousin lives in Vegas. He's like, I'm at the game. I'm like, no, you're not.
No, you're not.
You're not.
Wow, funny.
you ain't at the
No,
game.
you're not.
Yo, no, you're not as funny as I'm here. Well, you're not.
No, you're not. You're not at the game.
Yeah. Well, I won't get into much football talk. This has been my first season in a while where I've tried to actually watch the Bears, and because they looked exciting coming into the season. I was watching Hard Knocks. I was like, nah, this team looks pretty good. I have my reservations about our coaching staff, which has turned out to be what I thought. But man, excited about Caleb Williams, excited about some of the moves we've made, and still the Chicago Bears, man. Watching them Sunday, I was like, this team, man.
Lisa, was this the game that Seth Rollins took the bump?
Yeah, so at this game, Seth Rollins came out there and he had the other team's jacket on. He was joking in the stands, ripped it off to show that he had the Caleb Williams jersey on, and then he gets thrown out of the stands by somebody behind him. And I'm sure this was all an act, but I was just looking around like, man. And then he went back to his box seats, probably was in a suite, living that sweet life to watch the Bears stink up the joint and lose.
Mm-hmm. Unfortunate. I mean, if you're a Bears fan, you know, like he knew what was going to happen that day.
Yeah, the Colts are not very good either. I thought coming into this game, but my dad was like, "No, they're going to beat them. The Colts aren't good." I was like, "Dad, we've watched this team long enough. You've been watching this team longer than I have. There are no guaranteed wins for this team."
The energy in Chicago too with the White Sox, like, no, it's not good over there. Like, you guys gotta sums up.
Yeah, bull season starts soon. Not very excited for it, but it is what it is. If you're done watching us commiserate about sports, well, watching me commiserate about sports, really, send us some super chats, man. Send us Humper chats as well, where we get a larger piece of the cut. That's humperchats.com/Fightful.
Yeah, of course, as always, we appreciate your super chats, Humper chats, all support. And if you stuck around for our sports talk, you know, because like a lot of people encounter, they're like, I don't know sports at all. I like it, but I like it because you guys talk about it. So hopefully it was one of those today. Yeah. Hey, what's over there? It says, I'm saying it right now. Leon, go get Jimmy. Who's Leon?
That's the GM over here.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm assuming he's talking about Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I'm assuming so. Yeah, you think he's talking about Leon Rose? Is he talking about,
right? Leon Rose. Yeah.
Jimmy Butler and what's up with that? Do he got something?
Jimmy Butler ain't coming off the bench.
No.
So that's not gonna work.
I can't see that.
No. And didn't he have like a issue with Towns at one point and the whole exit from Minnesota?
Yeah, that's another reason why you don't want to do that.
Yeah, it's a couple of reasons.
There's been some rumors that Minnesota could be interested in Katie, and that could be part of the reason why they started making some moves.
Okay, that makes sense.
But I mean, what a story that would be of all this stuff with Katie and Anthony Edwards. Edwards got him out of here and then laughed in his face about it, went over and played the Olympics with him, and then could possibly team with him. It'd be kind of a cool story. I don't think it's happening though.
Van Twinblade said, Cards have had a bad season, but the White Sox, goddamn.
Why are you so loud, man? Calm down.
Like, with the season that they had, you don't have to be that loud. Like, you say it quietly, like 121. It's crazy. And then our Curtis says, Tigers' best story in baseball, Detroit is rocking. Shout out to Detroit. They need all the, stuff they can get at this point.
Shout out to Detroit. Man.
What you mean?
Shout out to Detroit.
What can I shout out Detroit?
It's so cold in D.
I ain't never shouting at Detroit on nothing I'm on.
Damn, that's crazy. The homies in the D can't get a shout out?
Nah, I did see that. Did you guys see that the Dash Loaf record turned 10 years old? I was like, how is that possible?
I don't. 10 years already?
If you, for context, if you guys don't know, the Dash Loaf record, which is really like her record that she got on with, the Try Me record that numerous rappers have tried to duplicate at this point.
A bunch of people tried her.
Yeah.
It's 10 years old. I was like, that can't be right. How is that possible?
Worst time at this point. But yeah, she said try me and everybody tried her. Like that became a stencil, a base of song at this point, or style of music. And it's crazy because we all kind of were under the assumption that she was going to be like gigantic and like the next one up off of that song, and it didn't really happen.
Yeah, to tie it back to wrestling stuff, she has the DX jersey on in the video.
Mm-hmm. Wrestling is just
everywhere, man.
Culture. But you know what they say? Keep that hip hop shit out of wrestling.
Somebody saying that. I'm not saying that. We want more.
Somebody saying that. I'm definitely not saying that. People be like, we should have saliva. I'm like, dog. I'm like, let's talk about it, but you can't bring up artists from 25 years ago. Like, if you're if you want to have an argument, music, bro. There's new rock music. That's all I'm saying. Like, let's listen to your argument, but you can't be like, let's have the Rolling Stones. Like, no, nigga, like, there's updated artists that you could be pitching, and you're not pitching them. What about Breaking Benjamin? Breaking Benjamin, dog? Like, they're what are you? What? We can't have SmackDown versus Raw music. What are you guys saying, dog?
Wireless.
Breaking Benjamin. I'm like, all right, you guys, you got it. You got it. Do we have I'm just trying to get right into it. EJ's tweets. Is that in our is that on the docket?
Yeah, I'm sure we're gonna have to get into that at some point. Because there was some stuff said. There's some other stuff said in reference to some interviews and stuff. But yeah.
It's a busy day yesterday and last night.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff going on. Swerve and Queen's Flip. I'm like, what's up?
Yo, that was crazy.
Wasn't it?
That was crazy.
It's a wild collab.
What's funny to me is, like, I'm sure if that is a legit, right, the plan, it's under embargo, right? Yeah. So whenever they're gonna make that announcement, like, the Queen's Flip was not supposed to get the
that
drop,
wasn't
bro.
On the plan. Yeah, like
like
Queen's Flip's gonna drop it.
Yeah, nothing about the rollout was let's have Swerve and Queen's Flip announce the Fox deal.
At SneakerCon, like, bro.
At SneakerCon.
Nah. When you said Queen's Flip, it got me. I'm like, them like, just saying Queen's Flip out loud.
Yeah, we're not even gonna have them look at the camera. We're just going, GTV this joint. This is GTV, hidden camera TMZ style. Yeah, so SmackDown is going over there. So we over here. It's like,
when I saw that,
the whole team, everybody that's putting the assets together, the press release, all the graphics, they're like,
they're getting the ass together, everything. They're like,
we gotta push the button now.
They're getting all these texts. Swerve said on Queen's Flip. Swerve said on who?
Queen's Flip with the breaking news. Like, you got to bring him to the show now. He got to be Queen's Flip at Wrestle Dream. He got a host now,
bro. The idea of the idea of Queen's Flip breaking wrestling news
is wild.
It's
I'm like,
so
what happened? How did he get to the game this fast?
That in itself is hilarious, but also the idea of me picturing Tony Khan being backstage and being like, "Hey, Will, you know this Queen's Flip guy? Who's this Queen's Flip guy? You know who this guy is?"
We're thinking about working with Queen's Flip.
Like Queen's Flip being said by certain human beings is so
crazy,
funny.
Dog.
So funny. Like, you got to pronounce the Z too. Like, Queen's Flip, bro. Like,
insane, man.
I'm so excited to bring Queen's Flip to AEW.
Yo, hey. Nah, him showing back up in New York. When is he gonna be back? Because I think he's gonna be in Jersey for they're gonna be in Jersey for the pay-per-view. Full Gear, right?
Yep.
Bro.
November.
Queen's Flip gots to
Queen's Flip.
He's gots to pull up now.
Bro.
You gotta walk Swerve down to the ring.
No, him coming out there and yelling Queen's Flip like he did on the Kupo joint, like, nah, man. You guys ready for Queen's Flip?
You guys ready for Queen's Flip is hella funny.
The Joe Budden podcast AEW crossover.
Dog, that's a crazy crossover.
I mean, Queen's Flip and the Manny, they've been trying to get to some wrestling shows. So
yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting it, but I guess we're here. That's all I got.
What a time.
Hilarious.
It's that hip hop shit, man. They say it's not here, but look at how it connects us to everything, my brother.
Hey, man.
I want to hear us. The Breaking Benjamin ain't out here breaking news.
Nah.
Queen's Flip.
Queen's Flipper.
Queen's Flip, the one that did that. He went through that so you wouldn't have to go through that.
Nah, Queens get the money.
Oh yeah. actually have a couple of other super chats. Let's get the hey, what's over there? Says, damn, if KD joins the Wolves, he will have become the Shang Tsung of basketball. Can't beat them, join them. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't
think
know.
he just doesn't care about the allegations at this point, right? He's just like basketball. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey.
If that's what you want to do, like give me
It's like
another one. And then R Curtis 777 says saliva in 2024 AD is wild.
Yo,
saying.
the AD is hilarious.
Saliva, dog. Like they're not even on tour right now. Like at least get a band that's on tour, like on because like a lot of these rock bands and hip hop groups are on these legendary like we was hot back in the day. We're still on tours. Like there's rock bands, a lot of those that are like that, but Saliva ain't even like that.
Yeah, no.
Why are you saying Saliva?
Nah.
At least the Foo Fighters, like they're relevant. Bad relevant, but they're relevant.
They're relevant. Dave out here. Dave out here getting busy.
Man, he said y'all gonna hear something. It's gonna sound crazy, and it's true. But I just want to know y'all gonna hear it.
Just want to let y'all know ahead of time that
it's a great way to get ahead of it. That's all of our super chats. Appreciate y'all.
Let's see. We got some humper chats as well.
Some humper chats. When does the basketball season start before we wrap it up?
Usually starts by
middle of
Halloween.
October,
right?
So it's usually October. So a few weeks.
I'm gonna pull that up right quick. Stat guy AO. See what the date looks like.
We don't want that other guy thinking we're trying to steal their.
Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute.
October 22nd is the NBA date.
This I'm trying to get our listeners ready too. So like that's when it's we're back in the basketball season.
I'm gonna need to by that point because I'm sure the Bears are not gonna get much better. See, from Tony P, he said I never gave Petty a week to a city before, but hear me out. New York City, a city with so many hops. I can't even list them. However, I got one of them this week as they were shaking ass when the Eric Adams indictment hit. To add on to that, the trade from last night. Man, for you to wait till we had a New York resident on this
it's
podcast
hilarious.
To say New York City is Petty of the Week. It's hilarious, Tony.
Eric Adams, though, yo, like, what's up? What's up with your bro?
Yo, he's wilding, man. Eric Adams is wilding. He's going down. It's over.
No, I saw him at a couple of like bottle service parties before, and I was like, this guy's kind of wilding. But then, like, I was like, no, he just outside. But no, he's outside.
There's all kind of. Anytime they hit you with the wire fraud, and
right?
The conspiracy, it's over. It's over. He's out here getting pieces of paper from the what is it, Turkey? He's wilding.
What was he doing? Like he was moving crazy.
He's wilding.
Devil trying to hit him with the Rico.
I get him with the Rico. I'm like, dog. I didn't know they hit the politicians with the Rico. Like anybody could get it out here. They're like, we got Thug. Let's get Eric Adams next. That's crazy.
In office.
Like, in office.
He's like, yo, let me just take this meeting real quick and then I'll meet you down at the corner.
I got this one last meeting. I'm gonna see y'all. No, pull up right now, bro.
Bad time.
We are outside.
New York is crazy. Like between Eric Adams and Puff right now.
Dog,
like,
yo,
wow,
hey, yo, it's some crazy energy in New York right now. I was like, Eric Adams is like the way that he's moving. That they're talking, I'm like, he moving like a mob boss or something. Like, what kind of deals was this guy putting together?
Eric Adams is out of here.
Like he moving with the briefcase and the money type deals, like money in the briefcase.
My man got the loaded Halliburton.
I'm saying, like, what was going on? But it's like it's almost funny that it was in New York though, because it feels like New York energy,
Hey, Jalen Brunson for mayor,
Only next step, I feel. How does Brunson feel about all of this? Like, you think he's just like, did he find out at the same time as all of us?
I mean, the real question is, what does Ja think?
Yeah, that's the real story.
Somebody go get Ja Rule, ask him what he thinks.
I'm sure Brunson's cool, like captain of the team. He's gonna hoop no matter what. So
Right. Yeah, he is one of those hoop no matter what type dudes.
So, yeah, some more from Tony P. He said things were interesting behind the scenes this week, as well as in front. -2 matches. Raw hit this week. The ending was a shock, but still cool. I'm glad I blocked enough people that make my feed decent. Because I knew some of the batshit takes were coming. Yeah, Raw was cool. If you were following, I actually did the post show this week with Denise. It was a pretty good episode. I immediately have to eat my words from last podcast of me saying that I think that this Jey Uso singles run has peaked because I was wrong.
Yeah.
Hey, shout out to Jey, man. He went out there and did that, man. Had a great match with Brian Breaker to end the night. And he's your new Intercontinental champion.
I like their chemistry, Braun Breaker and Jey Uso. You know, both on the microphone and the match itself. Like they have a nice chemistry together. You know, and Braun, what the cool thing that they did with that match was they showed the arrogance of Braun. You know, he had him beat a couple times, but I'm gonna play to the fans or I'm gonna lift Jey Uso's shoulder up. So this is like probably the first in a nice little series of tossing that belt back and forth. But I'm like not tired of it. You know, like I definitely am looking forward to more of it. But Jey Uso, like I thought the same thing, Phil. Like he peaked. And then it's like, if you don't strike right now, you're kind of risking watering that down, and that crowd response isn't going to be there. Completely wrong. You know, completely wrong.
Yeah, after I keep thinking back to the WrestleMania match with him and his bro, and I was like, so bad. And then there was even after that, there was still like, you guys got to get to Jey Uso. You guys got to get to Jey Uso. And I was on here last week too, being like, oh, there's no way that this is Braun's time. They're going full force with them. No way. But then watching the match and seeing how the crowd was going absolutely mental. They wanted this so bad. Jey Uso's energy and his fight and charisma, everything in that match was like, oh, he's winning this championship. I don't care what is happening. This is happening. I thought Braun played a really good heel in that. Like the stuff that was his downfall of losing the championship or stuff that adds on to him and his character and going into the future. Thought everybody played a really well role. Jey Uso's spear is still hot garbage, but very great way to cap off what he needed. Rikishi was going to be pulling up with that big thing if they didn't do the right thing. So I'm glad that they did the right thing. But it was definitely the right move and right time with what happened after it.
Hey, Rikishi, you push my boy. Push my boy. I think the thing with like Jey and Jimmy is like, they have this exact same move set, exact same style, exact same pace. So that match was like doomed because it's like a styles make fight type of thing. You have to have somebody that can bring something different to the table to play. Because we know Jey is spear, it's super kick, it's splash, dive over the top ropes, kind of it. You know, so you need somebody to do a little bit more, and they got that chemistry there.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said, I was wrong. I was coming into this, I was like, he's losing. But I started to see the makings of it going into this, the way that Braun was gloating going into the match. They kept putting over that Jey has had six singles title matches up to this point, and he hasn't won yet. And I was like, you can't have him officially lose 7 now that you bring it up and you let everybody know that he's on 7 now. If he lost 7, that would have been crazy. But also, it would have made Roman as a heel look right about him, because Roman's whole thing is, I made you main event Jey, and standing next to me, that's when you had success. So if he went out on his own and completely flopped, then it would have made that story kind of pointless, because the story is him going off on his own and proving himself. So he needed this. He needed this win. So I think it was the right call. I've seen people that are like, this is bad for Braun. Braun's going to be fine. I think this IC title run has shown that this guy is ready. I don't think that he's done with the IC title. I do think he will win it back eventually. And this guy is destined to be a world champion someday. It's bound to happen. I didn't believe that for a long time, but watching this IC title run has really put over how good he's gotten. Like the catchphrase, like the energy he brings to the crowds, like, he's going to be there eventually. But in the meantime, I think this was the right call for Jey, because with everything I said about him last week and how it feels like even the Yeet stuff, which still continues to be very over, He needed a big win to solidify all of this, and so this was right. I mean, even like the match itself was good. I wasn't a big fan of the pacing of the match, but I think like once it started getting into the closing stretch, it got better and better because that crowd was super into it. The Ontario crowd was awesome, by the way. They really made this match even better than it was. And just his win and him celebrating in the crowd, they had to immediately cut him because they had the pyro going off. And so you couldn't even see the pyro before they cut the end of the show. But they gave us the exclusive interview with him and him tearing up in the crowd. I was like, yeah, this was the right move. He deserved it. And we see how much all the other wrestlers around him were giving it up to him. It's well deserved, man. Shout out to Jey.
It was absolutely the right move because, like you said, Phil, if he doesn't win a title and have success as a singles guy, the only thing left to do is put him back in a tag team or put him back with the family. And what do we do all of this for if we're just going to go back there? Like, it should be at this point, when eventually Jey and Jimmy do come back together, that the sum of the parts have gotten bigger. So now it's a big deal that they're coming back and not this is all we have left. You know, so. And I thought like the coolest thing that the near fall, the second to last near fall off of the first splash was so close that the ref got the heat. Like they started, ref, you suck. Cause it was like, I really wasn't like the biggest NXT guy when Braun was there. So I would see like bits and pieces of whatever he was doing. But now that he's been, on Raw, I'm watching him more and he's incredible. Like his Frankensteiner by itself is so smooth. Like he's just really, really smooth and a freak athlete. So he's fine. Like he loses nothing. And the fact like it was more so his ego that beat him than just Jey. Yeah. So there's so much room here, and they're gonna feud over that title for a little bit. And he's probably going to beat Jey for the title,
definitely
at some point. So he's fine. He's fine.
Yeah, I think he's gonna get that title back, and you could see with the people that are vouching for him, like Heyman endorsed him a lot. Got the CM Punk shout out earlier this week. I do think we're gonna get Brian Breaker versus CM Punk at some point. He'll be fine. He doesn't necessarily need that title to be presented as the next up and comer. He's already presented that way. He's been presented that way since they brought him to the main roster. So he'll be just fine. Jey needed this win more, I thought.
Yeah, there are people that were like, oh, what does this do for Braun? And I had the opposite effect. I was like, this kind of makes me feel like they might be shooting him up into the main event scene quicker than I expected. I feel like they were like, we need a superstar. We needed somebody young. We need somebody that's going to be the future of this company. And Braun came in and like immediately got heat and immediately was that guy. And they were like, well, hey, we kind of got something good here. And I feel like they wanted to maybe see how he came off a loss. They want to kind of see like what are all the things that go into becoming a world champion, losing, carrying a championship, being the heel in a match, all these kind of things. He was put in that situation and he knocked it out of the park. So I think this is all great for him. Like this is nothing bad came out of this at all for him.
Yeah, I agree.
And the title reign is only as good as the feuds. You know what I mean? Like the title is a storytelling device. But if you have a reign and there's no heat in, within that feud or that rivalry, then that's when people start having those conversations about it's time to move the title and put it on somebody else. Yep. And right now, Jey and Braun have some heat. So it's good. That's good for both of them.
Yeah. Yep. I think Braun's going to be just fine. I'm curious to see how long this Jey run lasts. I hope it's not one of those, put the belt on him and drop it right back to Braun in like a week or two. I'm really surprised. The part of the reason I thought that Braun was going to win is because of the way they're building up Bronson Reed. I thought Bronson Reed was going to eventually be the guy that beats Braun Breaker. But man, the Bronson Reed and Braun Strowman stuff has continued to be very, very good. I continue to really like what they're doing with Bronson. They're making him feel like a big deal. Braun definitely needed a feud with somebody because he was kind of directionless, and I think they've gotten the best out of this matchup with those two.
This is like my favorite thing going on in WWE, right? It's just chaos. It's just absolute chaos. Like wherever these guys are, if they're in the same vicinity, they're fighting. It's the best of Braun like years ago was this type of stuff when he was going back and forth with Roman and they're spearing each other through the Titantron and all that. So let's just get back. Let's keep it simple. It's two big guys have them go. I've been calling for Bronson Reed to have like more emphasis placed on him for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I love like he still has to have that blow off with Seth, you know,
Yeah.
once he took Seth out. I was about to say K Quick, R-Truth. Shouts to my man.
Look at rowdy.
My man Ron Killings out here. But so there's a lot left. Like once, because I think he's going up in this feud over Braun Strowman once it's wrapped up.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so much room, so much for him to actually do. But this is fun. Like they just what's the stupidest thing that one of them could jump off and onto the other? That's really what this feud is about. How high can you jump? How can you climb the rope? Can you get to the top of this container? Whatever. Jump off the building, break the ring down. Like I love it.
My favorite thing about this is it's helping both guys. Like you guys said, like Braun Strowman needed this. Like he was just kind of like, he's a presence. He's gonna be over just because of who he is. But he needed something to attach to, something that we know Braun Strowman for, not just for he's Braun Strowman. He comes in and he knocks guys over. Like what is the other thing? And Bronson Reed has been that thing. Bronson, I think he came in and there was the bit about he beat Okada. Why can't he blah, blah, blah. And that was a bit for a long time. And it's like, no, this guy's a great worker. Like there's a reason that he's been put into the position. There's a reason that he was like that in Japan. And there's a reason that he's in a high position in WWE. He just haven't really given anything to show why. I think now he's being able to be shown why. He's doing great promos, the beat downs and things that he's had with the tsunamis and taking guys out. But this Braun Strowman thing has really just given him more. And it feels like this feels like the most Paul Heyman thing on the show of like, you never know what's going to happen. They're starting the show and they're taking each other out before any matches go on, before they even get to the arena. Like this feels like the most chaotic and what could happen thing that's happening in WWE. And they always need something consistently like this to happen. They tried to do it with the 24/7 championship, but it was just so dumb and not booked right that it didn't work. But now, if you could do it and it not be silly, that's what works. And that's what's happening here.
And like that, his finisher, the tsunami, is like the best finisher. Like it looks like I don't want to take a splash from a 400-pound guy.
No,
that's not how I want to spend my Mondays. It looks like one of the most devastating finishers. And if they protect it right and don't have anybody, kick out of it at least too often, like he's got a really, really long runway for sure.
Yeah, it's up there with the Annihilator right now that they've made it look convincing, and he looks great, man. You're right. At one point when they re-signed him, it's crazy to think that he's been back since 2021, 2022.
It's been a while.
And so he's been back for a while, and they, initially had some stumbling blocks with getting him going, but man, this year and just the way they followed up that beatdown with Rollins, they've done a great job with him. So hopefully they push him for it. Like I said, I think he will be Intercontinental Champion one day. I thought he was going to beat Bryan, but we'll see how he gets there.
He could beat Jey.
I could see that. I really like the idea of Jey being champion next time he comes across Roman as well, and just having the flip of Roman no longer being a champion, but Jey is a champion. Because I do think we're building towards the War Games match, and if he's still champion by November and he's on the War Games match with Roman as champion, I think that'd be a pretty cool note.
Not only with Roman, but with Jimmy, like the first of the twins to have a singles championship. Like, I ain't little bruh anymore. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the big homie. I don't care who's a couple minutes older. I got a title, bro.
It's going to be an interesting dynamic leading into that War Games match, considering what they're doing on SmackDown. It's like, I'm interested to see how they do tie those two guys in, if they do tie them in, because the direction that they're going with Cody and Kevin and Randy seems on some other stuff, some other bloodline stuff. It's a lot of interesting stories going on, but this Jey Uso thing's going to up the element. And they were, like I said, you guys, in a corner. Rikishi was not playing. He's like, if you don't push my son, I'm pulling up every time.
Real pressure.
If Jey, if they don't push you, you should probably consider other options. I'm like, yo, Rikishi is talking crazy, dog. What is he? Why does he keep saying this?
Yo, Rikishi was backstage in the parking lot with the same car that he ran Austin over. It's like, listen, my man, I need you to push my boy.
Bro,
He revved that engine up real quick.
Vroom,
I need
vroom,
you to
flash
push
them lights
my
again.
boy.
Oh, you remember what I did to Stone Cold? Do not forget.
I did it for my son.
The same leather jacket fit on and everything,
I was
man.
saying, yeah.
What is it? Fat wear? PHAT wear? He got that same.
The Samoan
gloves on?
Averex.
Samoan Averex is great.
Yo.
But man, shout out to Rikishi, man. His son's
Mm-hmm.
doing well. Current Intercontinental champion. This was the first week in a while that I felt like Raw was pretty much better than SmackDown.
Yeah.
I mean, Raw, I think on the whole has felt better than SmackDown because it has like a direction with some wrestlers. I just think some of the Judgment Day stuff has gotten a bit stale for me.
Liv
Yeah.
and Rhea still doing promos back to back. It's like, all right, you guys, like, I get it. I know it's like one of your hottest angles, but we gotta like do something with this.
I'm ready to move on, and the Shark Cage match stuff does not give me much hope as well. So,
like they doing bits now. I'm like, but like, all right, I don't like. What is this leading to? Is all I'm saying. And that's kind of how I feel about. I watched SmackDown last night, and what is Andrade and Carmelo leading to? Is my question.
A best of 45.
Like they're just having match. Like why are they having these They're great matches, but why though?
Reg, I thought you wanted wrestling on the show. They're giving you the wrestling. They're not talking. They're not doing the promos. They're giving you the wrestling, and the matches have been heat.
The matches are fire. Do not get it twisted.
It seems like they're getting towards a triple threat match for the United States Championship. That's why I'm guessing. I think the end of this best of 7 series is going to be eventually a triple threat match because you saw LA Knight get involved this time. So I think that's where we're going.
And who's going to go over here? Who's winning the championship?
LA Knight.
Yeah, I don't think they're taking it off him. It's interesting considering like that Andrade had his shot in the middle of the
that's
series.
what was confusing about me about it, Dale.
I thought that was it. Like I thought it was like, all right, now we're gonna figure out what the configuration is. We're gonna recalibrate. It's like, no, match number 6.
Well, I mean, but see, out of that, they had that little awkward thing between LA and Andrade at the end of their match. So I thought that was the way to start like some tension between them. And then they built on that this week with their exchange after the Carmelo match. And I honestly think this is the best Carmelo Andrade match that we got this week. This match was
fire.
That cutter off of the top rope.
Like, what was that? Like, you moving and shaking off a top rope into a cutter. Like, these guys just like again. Maybe the story doesn't matter because they're cooking so hard. It's like, man, just have them best of 45, like AO says. Like, just keep going until it ain't hot no more. What is this? This is until it ain't hot no more. A series of matches.
Yeah, but it's dope. But I think it's cool. Like they're building a nice. This is like the nucleus of whatever this division is going to be for a little bit. So it'll be interesting now who gets added to it. You know, once we kind of pair off and a feud here and a feud here, and it's all around that title or at least that division. I think it's cool. It's just like, how many of these are we gonna, and then what is there left to do? Like how crazy are they gonna go for game 7, right? Like how crazy are they gonna go for that last one?
Yeah, but I mean, this feels Heyman-esque as well. This feels like something we could have saw during a SmackDown 6 era. So yeah, I've been enjoying it. I like you have kind of like, okay, where are we going with like the Naomi and Bayley stuff? Because last week you built up all this anticipation for this loser leaves town stipulation, and then it didn't go anywhere.
Did the loser leave town?
No, because they both got the pinfall, so nobody lost the match.
Oh, then they just turned it into the number 1 contenders match, which was last night.
Right, and Bayley just won. So I'm just like, why did we even do any of that? That was weird. But the Nia and Tiffany stuff continues to be good. I saw a lot of people on Twitter being thirsty over Nia choking people.
Those people doing that are terrible. I would never. I don't want that at all. That Tiffany Stratton got. That would suck. Disobey Nia just so she could choke me. Well, I mean, I'm sorry. I'll never do it again.
Yo, take the garbage out. No.
Take the garbage out.
What you gonna do about it, Nia?
Yeah, but I thought that segment was good. It continues to make Nia look like a great character. I thought she's been great as a champion. This has really been a great year for Nia Jax.
It has, yeah. It's almost identically the Bronson Reed story of like she got fired and it was like, well, she has a lot to offer. And then she came back and they were like putting her in positions, but not the position she deserved to be in. Now I feel like she's in the position she deserved to be in. She definitely fought hard and worked hard to get to those positions too.
Yeah.
And I'd like to get to a bunch of positions with her too. Look, let's just move forward is all I'm saying. Like, you can't leave me space to talk.
I think that she's vastly improved as well in ring. I think she's vastly improved with like all the character stuff, and she's got really good chemistry with Tiffany. So
yeah,
this has been good. I think that they're continuing to build up the reason for Tiffany to cash in on her, which is good. I kind of felt like, man, Raw could use somebody out of this feud on Smack. And that's why I thought this loser leaves town thing was going to go somewhere, and it did not. So.
Feel like that's what's going to be the natural progression of like, okay, they're going to move someone over. Something you said earlier has been in my brain, Phil, because you said about Raw. It's about Raw and times, and the thing came out this week about SmackDown moving SmackDown to 3 hours. And
please don't.
I'm at a crossroads because I feel like Raw has been better because they have time to flesh out the story. So more time to flesh out stories? Question mark.
No,
I don't think.
I know it's not. I don't think so at all. But I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here.
There's
devil
never
don't need an advocate, bro.
Yeah. That was already doing enough, man.
I'm saying 3 hours is so long, you guys. It's so long for any wrestling show by any company. 3 hours is a long time on it.
Like sometimes 2 is too long. Like an hour.
Honestly,
give me a 90-minute show. Remember the 11 a.m. Saturday morning Superstars? Give me an hour. We do a promo. We have another promo and a match. Sell some magazines and get out of here. We're done.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. 3 hours. I'm looking forward to Raw going back to 2.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to SmackDown going to
3 hours on a Friday too. Like y'all are.
Nah, that's not happening. That feels very DVR, bro. Very DVR.
I was trying to be crazy with our time out here. With our time. I'm trying to watch 3 hours on a Friday night.
Fam, SmackDown ending at 11 p.m. is not what it is. It's just not what it is.
No thanks.
So not in at all. Anybody?
Nah, I'm gonna sell.
Agreed.
I'm gonna pass on that.
Same.
It's a no for me, dog. I'm good. But yeah, all the other stuff they're doing with the women, I think, is good. I think it's good that they're continuing to use Mia Yim. Chelsea continues to be a great character that they're using. SmackDown's got it together with their women's division. I wish that Raw was doing more with their women's division like this. But on the other side, Io Sky has been great over there. It just doesn't feel like there are stakes for a lot of the stuff with the women, and that's partially why I'm ready for this Rhea and Liv stuff to be over, so other people can challenge for that belt.
It feels like the championship is like it's in a prominent angle, it's up high, but like it'd be doing more if it was being contested at all by some other women in this division. That's it. Matches. You know what I mean? And like it doesn't. The worst part, it doesn't feel like there's any immediate contenders. It's like they're going to continue this because they got more matches between Rhea and Liv, and it's like that's not what's supposed to be going on. Contrary, on SmackDown, they do have they got the Nia and Tiffany stuff going on, but they have a bunch of other women and other feuds building up to getting to Nia.
Yeah, and you're bringing up exactly what I'm afraid of. Because when we talked about it in the post show, I was saying, well, there is nobody set up for Liv after this or Rhea, which makes me think that this feud is going to keep going. And I do think that something's going to happen at this pay-per-view.
Because the shark cage thing that's not a feud ender.
No, that's usually a take somebody else out of the position so somebody else can interfere kind of thing. And if you've been following the updates with Raquel is about ready to return. Raquel, of course, has history with Liv and Rhea. I could see Raquel coming back and helping Liv and keeping this feud going. And I don't want it, but I could easily see that happening.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like the Bad Blood match is going to be it. Is the problem. So, just the Raw women's division, they have great women's wrestlers over there. Some of the best. It's just they need to be featured more.
Yeah,
and they got 3 hours for now.
Yeah. So, boy, Randy Orton doing some finagling this week. I don't know if you guys read it the same way, but Kevin Owens is saying that every turn, I don't want to do nothing with this Cody guy. Like Cody tried to get in their tag match. He's like, no, you got a tag team partner. Get out of here. And then they're in a locker room talking and chit chatting. He's trying to come in there like, yo, we clearly have a problem. Let's talk. And Kevin Owens is like, nah, I'm not trying to talk to you. And so he tells him not to interfere in the match. And then afterwards, Orton goes, hey, we could use your help. Come on down. I said, oh, I see what you're doing, Randall Keefe.
Yep.
Randy is definitely instigating this, and it leads me more to my belief that he's going to turn on Cody. I think that he is very much doing this intentionally to try to force Kevin Owens to turn on him.
Yeah, the tip off was, I'm gonna go talk to him. Don't you worry about it. I'll take care of that. He never talked to him. He never talked to him at all. He set it up. So he's right now playing the strings. He's got them at each other's throats, and like a true viper, he's gonna strike sooner rather than later.
Randy was like, no, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, that feud with Cody is gonna be, if they lean into like some real personal and some history and allow Randy to kind of get like back to evil Randy a little bit, that's gonna be interesting because Cody plays that super emotional guy really well because he really is that guy. So when we kind of get that back and forth, like
he can't wait to cry.
It's like I'm gonna say it's real. Like, oh, give me some real emotions, please.
Yeah. I knew you
wait to cry.
I knew you for 15 years, and then here goes the single tear. You've watched me grow up. He starts shaking with the fake MLK voice.
Word. You watch me grow up.
You watched me grow up.
No, I knew it because when they did the Cody's drinking Wheatley so good I'll drink it neatly on the tour bus. They was already trying to get into it right there. I'm like, oh, Cody about to cry right here. And when they get on TV, it's gonna be tears.
Wheatley.
No, but I like the slow kind of burn they're doing for Randy Orton because it's like, we know what you're about to do, dog, but they're like slowly getting to it. He's like kind of gaslighting Kevin Owens a little bit. Kevin Owens is like, dog, he's with Randy Orton. Like, I mean, he's with Roman Reigns. Why would we even mess with Cody Rhodes? Like, he knows what we've been through. And Randy's like, it's not so bad. Like, that's Cody. What you mean? Like, Cody has a hold of this. Don't worry about it. All will be good. And it's just like making Kevin Owens even more, because he's like, what you mean, dog? You were there too. Like, he's not really understanding what Randy's talking about.
He's got that smirk on every time. I just think everything about it. And that's also more and more reason why I think Randy's going to turn. Everything about it. They're wearing the matching shirts now. And it's supposed to get you to believe that Kevin Owens is going to turn on Cody or turn on Randy. But I think it's going to be the other way around. I think Randy is going to turn on both of these guys.
I just still like Randy better as a heel anyways, even at this age.
100%.
Yeah, him coming out.
He's really only like a face because the move is what it is.
Right.
But like, he's not a likable character whatsoever. No. We've seen him turn on everybody. We've seen him kick elderly people, like, yeah, like that's not likable. That's not likable at all. But it also makes sense coming out of him losing to Gunther. So it's like, all right, if I want to get back to the pinnacle, if I want to get back to a world championship, what do I have to do? I have to figure it out. I couldn't just win one-on-one with Gunther. It didn't work out for me. So now I got to resort back to pulling some strings and manipulating the situation. Exactly. I didn't want to be this guy, but I have no choice.
Yeah, he's been doing I'm happy to be back, guys. Aren't you guys happy to see me? I'm having so much fun thing for almost a year now. Enough, man. He came out last night, and this is even more reason why I could see it happening. I don't know if you saw when he initially came out, he was walking around the barricade, and those two kids were there with the Cody cosplays on. He was like, hey, look at that. That's cool. And he was like fidgeting with their jackets and stuff. I read that completely different. He was just looking around like, oh, this is the guy around here no more? I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
You got kids that like him in the front row? Okay, we gonna see.
Too much. I can't let this go.
I don't like that, man. Now all of a sudden you're the man around here. When did that happen? Like, nah.
Right.
Say less.
And I'm your big homie. I'm your OG. Nah, we're not doing this.
Yeah. That turn is going to be great. The feud is going to be great. I think that I could easily see that going into next year because I don't think that'll be because it's Bad Blood. Then we got a Saudi show, then Survivor Series.
That feels like the Royal Rumble match.
Rumble,
at least.
Yeah.
When's the Saudi show?
I think it's at the beginning of November because
it's usually the end of October or November. Yeah.
I think it's at the beginning of November because Survivor Series is usually the week of Thanksgiving. So I don't.
I'm like, why does it feel like it's been a long time since there's been one? There hasn't been.
No, King and Queen of the Ring with the Saudi.
Yeah, I was gonna say I feel like Jade and Bianca were on that show. So yeah,
they were.
Interesting.
But yeah, we got a Drew promo as well that I thought was good. I was chuckling at Denise because she was like, I wasn't that scared of his promo. Like Punk's promo seemed like it was threatening. I was like, nah, Drew is a very, very big guy. I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Big Drew pull up on you, put his hand on your shoulder. You can be like, yo, who is this?
Yo, maybe it's like I feel like the Punk and Drew thing is probably going on a little too long. Like I thought for how intense that feud was, it could have been something that was like maybe a one match thing. Like we just build, and instead of doing this 3 match and build and build and
what
build,
the Fed do.
I know. But we could have just had like one crazy ass match, super violent. Punk probably goes up, and the next time they see each other isn't until the Rumble where the injury happened and the feud jumped off in the first place. Like just this back and forth thing is going a little too long. So, and then what are they going to do in the Hell in a Cell that we haven't seen? Like they could retire. Hell in a Cell should be like once every 3 years, once every 4. We don't need this every year. We've seen everything you could possibly do in the Hell in a Cell.
Yep.
Let it breathe for a minute.
Yeah. I don't know what they're gonna do, but I already knew coming into SummerSlam. I was reading the build to it. I was like, oh, this is usually what they do. They have something that's working, that's getting reactions, and so it's not gonna be a one-off. They have something that's working. We're gonna milk it as long as possible. And so as soon as I saw the SummerSlam match, I said, yep, this is exactly what I think. It's gonna end up being 3 matches, and here we are.
And they were trying to build to the Hell in a Cell too, so it's like they're gonna have to slow walk the dog at points because they're trying to get to October, and so it's felt like they should have had something in the middle. Like they should have had both guys do a little side quest or something and get back to it. The issue is it's just been constantly that. Like all we know of CM Punk for the last year, it feels like, is Drew McIntyre and vice versa. You know what I mean? Like they need something else to be connected to.
Well, I mean, Punk did try to move on. He came out and he tried to challenge Gunther. And then, of course, to continue the trend of Drew McIntyre being a hypocrite, he came out in a hoodie and jumped him because that's exactly how he lost the belt. It's somebody coming out in a hoodie and causing him that match. But I'm fine. I think the last few weeks have at least got me interested in a steel cage match. I did get a good laugh out of Twitter this week. Somehow being confused by what could main event. I don't know how that's possible, but Cody has been a part of all the promotional material for this show. When we first found out about the show, it was a Cody and Metro Boomin trailer.
Yep. This
is in his hometown.
They showed that Roman and him bit again last night, like dog.
Bro, they gave this guy a whole trailer for this pay-per-view. Then they did an entire cutscene with him and Roman. No, the main event is going to be Cody and Roman versus the Bloodline. I thought that was fairly obvious.
Wait, what else is considered for the main event that people are talking about?
Some people thought it was going to be Punk and Drew.
Nah.
In Cody's hometown, Roman coming back. Roman ain't coming back to be on the undercard, though.
I'm just kind of like, Roman's in this match, you guys. Why are you guys confused?
I was about to say, like, even Cody the champ, Gunther the champ, if Roman's on the card, Roman's probably in the main event.
If Roman's here, he's going on last. I don't care who the champion. And like people being confused about, I'm like, dog, that's Roman Reigns. What do you mean he's the big star here? This is his show. Yeah. This is everything about him. But yeah, also on the backs of that, this whole thing is like Cody's story. He keeps emphasizing his dad's been here. He keeps emphasizing how important the roads are to Atlanta. Like, what y'all mean?
Yeah. big part of the reason they're probably doing this pay-per-view in Atlanta is because of Cody. There was no way they weren't going to come and let him main event. I just didn't see it, man. But I could see them easily doing an old co-main event joint, but we know who's probably going on last.
Yeah, they'll build it, but like the tag team match will follow the Hell in a Cell and not the other way around.
I mean, things could change. I don't know. They do got some master politicers up out there for one of those matches.
there was reports this week about that, and I immediately started chuckling at it. I also laughed again because I was doing some research for an article I wrote, and it's just still funny to me, and I tweeted this, but it's just still funny to me that Punk came out and he did the infamous promo where he's saying, "Stop me when I'm telling lies." And of course, that's when we got all of the stuff with him and Hangman, and we got like the beginning of the feud with Mox, and then 2 days later, Roman Reigns was on TV cutting his promo at Drew McIntyre, and he looks dead in the camera and yells, "You're lying!" And I was like, "That." I see you, Rome. I see you.
Yeah. That's also the super funny thing. Is like, anytime they think Punk's gonna get a main event, here comes another one of these guys to take it away from him.
Listen, what did he say in that promo? If anybody else tells you that they're the face of this company, they're lying. If anybody else thinks they're gonna main event this show and they're the top of this card, they're lying. You're lying.
Yeah. Listen, Roman doesn't lie. That's the son. You know what I mean? And how many of these do we get at Roman? He don't go overseas. He don't be at nothing. You think he's not about to be last?
Bro,
I'm like, what?
He came back at SummerSlam, and then 2 pay-per-views in a row, he was not on the card. And you think he's going to come back to this pay-per-view and be on the undercard?
Yeah, Roman is not going to be in like match 4 ever for the rest of his career. You know, he's not opening. He's closing.
First pay-per-view match since WrestleMania, he's going to be on the undercard.
This is.
No, that ain't happening.
Next week, it's on early because of UFC. So.
They run the same day. What time is it?
Yeah, Bad Blood starts at 3 instead of 3 o'clock instead of.
So
5,
that's 6 over here.
Yeah,
I love, man. They can do as many of those 1 p.m. pay-per-views, PLEs, whatever, as they want to, because that is amazing. Watch that and then kind of go on about my day, go out to eat or something instead of, like Saturday 1 p.m. pay-per-view. Do more. Yeah, do more.
It's those overseas guys that get all the shows. Yeah. They need to continue going overseas on it. Honestly,
I need PLEs when the coffee is still hot.
Honestly,
I ain't mad at it.
Except for when they counter program us, which is every time. So I don't know.
Tell them to run it on a Sunday then.
Run it on a Sunday.
Run it on a Sunday. Sunday 1 p.m.
Come on.
Got any more super chats before we read some more of these humper chats?
Yeah, we got a couple of them. Auntie Collins says, India or not, EJ needs to be pushed on ROH immediately. Excited for Wrestle Dream.
Yeah, we did get, as Reg alluded to, some EJ stuff off the backs of some Swerve stuff, which is our favorite topic, I guess. So
always gets us in trouble.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I hate it because it always feels like we're like his defense force, and we're Swerve fans. But I also think that at this point there's a sect of fandom on Twitter that's just not going to give him a fair shake, no matter what, because they've just decided at this point that they don't like him, and that's fine because that's wrestling. You like who you like, but I just think sometimes they're not even trying to see the point in what he's saying because they just don't like him.
Yeah, they made up their mind already.
Yeah. But yeah, this came out of both of the Breakfast Club interviews, which was dope. Mercedes did the Breakfast Club interview. And I mean, before we get into all the Swerve stuff, I think it is incredible that she continues to do a lot of this promo stuff for AEW. We don't see, I mean, up to this point, we've never seen AEW send a woman out to do all of the promotional stuff like this, mainstream press, not just doing like the wrestling podcast, doing big outlets to promote. I think that's cool. I think that's a testament to her star power and why she was brought in.
Dude, I was on YouTube and it was like Mercedes Moné on the Breakfast Club promoting AEW Grand Slam. I was like, this lady is so big. She ain't even on the show, and they got her out promoting the show. Like, that's how important she is to this company and how much important she is to this division, the women's division. I just thought that was super dope that she ain't even supposed to be. She's not even on the show, but she's still out there doing the work for the rest of the company. And the interview was great too. I think Charlemagne, when he gets with wrestlers, sometimes he's like,
it can be a little,
he's a little shaky, but I feel like sometimes he does get to a good point, and he got both Swerve and Mercedes into some good topics, I think.
Yeah, I think the good thing about when wrestlers go up there or go to other outlets outside of the wrestling bubble is they'll sometimes ask questions that wrestling fans aren't going to think to ask because we're just looking at it like, oh, well, let's just get to the usual stuff. And so they do ask stuff that you don't think to ask that will like reach fans that might be just interested in a product that are seeing these people for the first time. And so I think that that's where both of those interviews did very well, is that both of them put over why AEW is something that you should be watching. Because Charlemagne made the point several times, and you can read it away of him bringing up WWE, but I think it's also him trying to make the point of what makes AEW hot right now as an alternative, and why would you pick going to AEW over WWE, because WWE was considered the biggest stage, still considered the big stage.
I think it's a totally fair question. Like, we were talking NBA earlier. Think about if there's like a secondary league or a second league, like a major promotion that's coming up where you have like comparable talent or talent leaving the NBA to go join whatever this league is. That's great for basketball fans that are really into that. But for people that just know I root for the Knicks or I root for the Bulls or whatever, all right, well, why should I buy a ticket? Like, what's going on that's so cool about your league that I'm going to go and buy a ticket, and I'm not sure if, like, I don't remember the name of the team yet. So I think like questions like that are really cool, because then it gives, I thought the coolest thing, or one of the coolest things, was how into the storyline of Hangman and Swerve they got, where they're like, no, wait,
That was funny.
you went to his house and did why didn't anybody call the cops? Like, so they're really getting into the story. I'm sure they know what it is, but getting into the story, like, and then what happened? And then what happened? Like, that's the cool thing. You know, it's like, all right, cool. You left there. Tell me why this is interesting. Oh, damn, what happened? Now let me pay a little bit more attention. You know, there might have been however many people were listening to that show or caught it on YouTube. There's some new fans that came out that at the very least went to check out what was going on at Grand Slam, and that's the point of doing press.
That's what's super dope about our culture, is like, it doesn't feel like what outlet does Bryan Danielson go to that's not a wrestling outlet to get this over? What outlet does Kenny Omega? We know what outlet does the other wrestlers go to that are different than just sports or wrestling or blah, 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 that can reach a different sect of fans. Like the Breakfast Club, that's not a wrestling outlet at all. The people that listened to that show that day, they weren't wrestling at nothing connected to that, but they still brought them in and tried to connect their audience to wrestling. And it's so different than a different culture of wrestlers represents. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think overall, I think that's what's dope about both of those interviews, is that this is a major black outlet, and you had two black wrestlers at this point doing well somewhere else other than WWE, and they're on a major outlet saying, this is why I'm here. This is why, you know, I have a better opportunity here, and this is why you should give this a chance. This is why, for me, currently, AEW is where I want to be. And I mean, you could have, that's why I said you could take the Charlemagne question away of him saying, all right, well, why'd you leave WWE or bring WWE up? But I thought they both answered the questions very well. I thought they also brought in like the fashion and culture stuff in for Mercedes to ask good questions. I thought very, very interestingly, and this could tie into some other stuff from this week, but when they asked her why she left, and she brought up that the chairman talked to her a way that she just couldn't stand for, and she didn't say exactly what he said. Yeah, she's not going to, because you know, it just doesn't benefit her to to delve into any of that at this point. But I thought she answered the question very well. She gave you enough to make you think about it, but also like, nah, that's that. That's what happened there. I'm in a better position right now. I'm happy. I'm doing well. Potentially highest paid woman in wrestling, and I deserve that. Not on no, they wouldn't give it to me. I'm still mad at them. No, I'm where I want to be. They gave me that. I'm happy.
Like she moved on. It's not like I'm still harping on this. I'm only talking about this because you asked me the question. That's what I hate about the fans that only watch those. Why are they talking about WWE the whole time? Why does she keep? She didn't go in there and say, "Hey, let's talk about what happened with me in WWE." No, she's answering a question and giving her thoughts on to why and what her place represented. But most of all, she was trying to emphasize she's in a great place right now. They're giving her what she wants. She's doing the things that she wants to do as an entertainer, as a wrestler, and she just feels good in that position. But people just flipped it onto something else. That is super interesting though, because I mean, like you said, with what happened in some other avenues concerning said chairman this week, it aligns with a lot of those logics that Sasha or Mercedes is talking about in this interview.
Yeah.
So,
yo, Vince is wild.
Yeah, but
put Vince and Puff.
But the Swerve interview, I thought he dropped a lot of good nuggets in there. I love that he got to do that kind of outlet because you like we know that he does the music. He does like have like a care for the culture when it comes to music and fashion and stuff. The fact that he got to go up there and promo his shoes and they put his shoes up there on the wall with like other people's, that was dope. I'm glad that he finally confirmed something that I wanted to put in an article like 2 years ago, and my editor wouldn't let me put it in there because they were like, "Are you sure about that?" And I was like, "I'm pretty sure about it." But he told the story about where his name came from because Charlemagne asked where did Swerve come from, and so he broke down like how he came up with the Shane Strickland start part, and then he thought he wanted to do something like a boxer, like Sugar Shane Mosley, and so he needed like something like an adjective to throw in there, and that's how he got to Swerve. But he got that from being a big Sean fan. He got that from Mercy. The ad lib in there. That's how he got there. And I had that story queued up, and I had it in an article, a Bleacher Report article, and Quality Control was like, can you confirm that? Do you have like? I was like, I'm pretty sure of it. I can't find a clip of where he said it, but now, if I did it today, I would have the clip right in front of me because he said on Breakfast Club. But he dropped a bunch of other nuggets in there, just like his life before wrestling, like the military stuff, like moving around. He gave Kaz a shout out of going to the evolution of the black quarterback thing. And man, shout out to Kaz. Kaz is a guy that's moved in so many circles. Just the fact that Swerve can go, Kaz, and Charlamagne was like, yeah, shout out to Kaz. I was like, this guy.
Very tapped in.
Very, very tapped in. But yeah, just the fact that he can get into that. And then, so of course he got into a story of going to the evolution of the black quarterback with Kaz and getting to see like the story of guys like Michael Vick and getting a coach that believed in him. And that's what really pushed him forward. It was like, all right, this is how I get this big contract, and this is how I change things for black quarterbacks moving forward. And he tied that to himself with that report about the market value thing, which that clip hit Twitter. And of course, people acted as normal as you would expect to that, because then that turned into, why is he playing a race card, and why is he still talking about WWE, blah blah blah, did they really try to re-sign him, blah blah blah. But I think his overall point was that, all right, the timeline of this, I had something hot going with Hit Row. Hot enough where I was ready to go to the main roster. Get to the main roster. You don't really even give us a chance before you release me. And so I'm just like, all right, well, cool. Let me just reset. And even he also throws in some nuggets with that as well when he talks about his time with NXT, working with HBK. And he at one point says that Trips gave him the runaround, which is very interesting. I don't know what you guys thought about that, but I definitely read it away because he was like, well, I would ask Trips for this and this, and he kept giving me the runaround until I went directly to Sean, and then Sean kind of took me under his wing and started giving me all of these things that I didn't even know I could just ask for.
Mm-hmm. Yep. No, I totally read that exactly how he said it.
Yeah. Which, plays into some stuff with the MVP stuff and
the EJ tweets also.
Yeah. So, but yeah, that clip hit Twitter and people did what they did with it. And I don't think that a lot of people understood his point. I don't think that a lot of people even attempted to understand his point because that's how these things go a lot of times on Twitter. Mm-hmm. But I think that in a lot of ways he's right. And I've seen a lot of people try to imply that he's being self-serving because that's the other narrative that's attached to him with whenever he like leans into, I'm black and leans into stuff with the culture, certain people are like, oh, it's convenient or he's just doing it for the moment. But I didn't think that he brought that up in his quote of saying, whenever somebody black gets their money, then they're mad. I don't think that was just about him. I thought that he was also talking about the way that people talked about Mercedes when she got the contract and how there is, how do I say this carefully? there is the rumor that they lowballed her. And part of the reason she didn't go back is because she got lowballed. And when you look at who she is compared to other horsewomen and their accomplishments, they've main evented WrestleMania. They've gotten all these other accolades. All accolades that she has too, because she's main evented WrestleMania. She's been an Iron Woman in a Royal Rumble match. She has all of these different accolades, and they're getting paid more than she does. Why? And then when I ask you for more or to get paid on that level, it's this market value thing again, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he was just talking about himself. I think he was talking about both of them, and it just so happened to be both of them did Breakfast Club, and they were both saying very similar things about going to AEW and what that meant for their career. And I think people completely missed that. But out of this and him saying the industry shaker thing, that's where we got these EJ tweets, and I should get them in front of me.
Mm-hmm. Because EJ said it.
But he's friends with Swerve. If people have not picked up on this at this point, he's put out multiple workout pictures and stuff with them. He was out at the weigh-in for the Ospreay match. If people don't know, he was out there because they're friends and Swerve wanted him there. So he was hyping up the Breakfast Club interview and saying, say it louder, industry strikers, other side refused to give us opportunities. Now look at the cream has always rise to the top. Now, initially when I first saw that, I was like, oh man, it's going up for Swerve. Like that's what you're supposed to do for a friend. But then also he tweeted some things after that.
That wasn't it.
were very interesting. So he says, came into the industry from NFL and IFBB, where the hardest working person in the room at the very least gets an opportunity. I was first one in the ring every single day, last one to leave. Came to extra ring, tried to ask for help, but nothing. What ask for help, but nothing links to what Swerve said with the Triple H thing. He also said they pulled the rug out from underneath my family, and I and many other wrestlers because he wanted to spend that money on hush money. As far as I am concerned, y'all can eat glass. I wish one of y'all would even debate that I'm saying what I'm saying because I knew this day would come. I recorded all and have receipts. They even tried to pay me off and prevent me from going to AEW for a whole year. They said certain people don't like admitting they make mistakes.
Damn, I missed all of that. He said, "Wow."
Yeah, he's giving it up.
I'm getting the tweets up in front of me because I didn't want to just like paraphrase my guy.
Can't misconstrue those words.
And he said some more things, but that was really the meat of it. I feel like I did a big information dump.
Now it feels interesting because I feel like, we interviewed EJ before, and he didn't tell us about this, but the language that he was talking about his exit, I could feel it. So like this kind of confirmed what he was saying to us.
Well, the thing that people don't know is, so we did do that EJ interview, and that was at the tail end of his MLW run. And he actually wanted to come back on as a free agent and do another interview. We just never got to it, and we never scheduled it. And he ended up signing with AEW.
That's right.
So we didn't end up doing that.
That's right. And he probably would have said this stuff.
Maybe, but he definitely seemed like he had a point to prove, especially at the end of the MLW run. He definitely seemed like he was hungry to prove himself.
Yeah, this is when MVP tweeted that stuff a few months ago, and people were like, "Well," and then the kind of the controversy surrounding that, and they're like, "Well, no, maybe," and then like it happens again, and then these people are kind of all saying the same things. I'm like, why is everybody saying the same thing though? It's just it's like it can't be a coincidence if everyone keeps saying the same thing. Yeah. I don't know.
That's very where there's smoke, there's fire, pretty much. That's what that sounds like to me. I mean, look, the way I also look at a lot of this stuff is like, at the end of the day, the contract situation and the opportunity situation is like, I have these conversations, even when we were talking, throw a name out there like Miro, where it's like, this guy's been here, why aren't they doing this with this person, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. My attitude is always like, wherever you are, just make that shit work. And if it's not working, do what's best for you. We were talking about the Knicks earlier and how cold of a game it is, where there's not even any conversation as to when you're leaving the team. I'm sending you over here because you're not working for me here. Sometimes you got to do what the hell is best for you. We see Mercedes now. She's making the most of her opportunities. I think the cool thing when you talk about like Mercedes and Swerve is you see all of the things that they're doing outside that they clearly wanted to do and probably had in the tuck for a long time. And now they have these opportunities. She's doing sneakers. She's doing music. She has, these appearances, the fashion show. She was able to wrestle for different federations. Like, there's a lot of things that I wanted to do, and nobody's really going to see the potential in you more than you. So now it's like, all right, cool. Let me put myself in the position to run that market value up, right? That's the big word, #market value. If you're not going to give me these opportunities, I'm going to go and make an opportunity for myself over here. And then 2-3 years later, 5 years later, we're going to see what's what. Like, that's a very Jay-Z type of thing, right? Yeah. Jay-Z had, this demo sent to this office, this demo sent to this office. All right, fuck it. Now we're going to make our own company. We're going to put these out. We're going to run these numbers up. And the next time I come back to these offices, it's going to be because you made the call and not me. And now that I'm running these numbers up. You know what I mean? And we're going to keep running these numbers up. So Mercedes is doing that. It seems like that's the same thing that Swerve is doing. EJ seems like he's on that type of time. If you're not getting that opportunity here, handle your business and then leave. And make sure that the next time, that conversation happens, you got to hit this number. We're not even having this. I'm not picking up. First of all, you're not talking to me. You're talking to my agent. You're talking to my
yes, exactly.
And that's what it is. At the end of the day, these companies don't give a fuck about you.
I don't care.
Like, none of them do. The people that are in charge of these companies are going to do what's in the best financial interest of the company, because that's their job. Especially when it comes from the people that own these companies or the board or whatever. They're looking at the bottom line. And if somebody, the craziest thing is like these conversations, sometimes they're personal and sometimes it's just like, I'm looking at a piece of paper and the number hasn't been moving the way I think the number should be moving, so cut them. When you look at back at those 2020 cuts, a lot of that was just that. If you weren't popping by the time we were making these cuts, get out of here. It's not even a matter of having a conversation. It's a matter of, I just need to cross something out off this piece of paper.
And sometimes that person making that decision, he don't even watch the show. He just like, this person's connected to a number. Get him out of here. That's
more
it.
times than not. Like I have, I'm a writer in the creative space in advertising, right? The people that make these real decisions as to what gets made and what's not, they're not from a creative background. They're not looking at, oh, this is a great idea. They're like, it's numbers at the end of the day. You know, the success isn't built a lot of times on the conversation that this work can actually generate. Is, did this shit translate to somebody buying something from my company? You know, so it's the same type of thing, you know. And if you, at that point, when they were making these cuts, weren't put in the position or given the opportunity, or nobody saw that potential in you, you didn't even have a chance to get popping. So they just crossing your name off the list. End of the day.
Exactly. Yeah, and that was kind of my takeaway with all of this. I didn't see any of this as Mercedes or Swerve going up there to complain. I think they were like, hey, man, this is what it was. You know, got thrown a curveball where this is what I thought it was going to be at one point. So it's like, all right, well, let me bet on myself and prove myself. Like, let me go over here and show you that I'm worth this. You know, not to get in our Swerve Vengers bag, but bro, he had the best year of his career, man. Had the best year of his career, and he earned a big contract. And so to immediately have the talk out of that be, oh, well, should he be getting paid this? And, you know, I'm sure people are going to go, oh, it's the Dave Meltzer report. Do you really believe that or not? Regardless, I mean, just the fact that it is in the conversation. I mean, it's the same way with the Mercedes thing where, man, she was the hottest free agent coming into that year. Hottest free agent coming into this year. And I mean, everything that came out of that, showing up at the Tokyo Dome, main eventing next to Okada and all this other stuff. No, I've showed you what my worth is. It doesn't matter what, like some of these conversations online of what is and isn't a draw, blah, blah, blah. Is she making the product better, blah, blah, blah. No, I've come out and not even just now as a free agent, but throughout my time there, I've shown you what my worth is. Pay me, and if you're not going to pay me, I'll find somebody else that will.
I like that both of them put an emphasis on it was personal to them. Like they weren't like the people that still work there that are black shouldn't work there. They were just like, no, we went through these things as this, and we chose to move forward personally. It's not a wide thing. It's not a thing. It's like this is our personal experiences.
Yeah, 100%. Exactly. And
I just can't also see, like I can't see anybody looking at that from the outside, looking at. Well, sorry, am I lagging?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, no, I was just gonna say like the people that are in charge, the bookers, the promoters, they have their people. You know, it's like think about like a coach. You know, when a coach gets taken out and a new head coach, they're bringing in their regime. They're picking their people. They have their favorite players. They have people that they're gonna draw plays up a little bit more. Sometimes you're just not that person's favorite. You know, Triple H clearly has his favorite. Vince had his favorites. I'm sure Tony Khan has his preferences as far as people that he's going to go to more than others. At the end of the day, it's like, I'm looking at the situation. This shit ain't working for me. I'm going over here. I'm going to go somewhere else and I'm going to get hot. Or maybe you're just not that good. You know, there's the other part too. A lot of people have a big belief in themselves and it just ain't going to happen for you because you're not good. You know what I mean? You're not it. The difference is, like, you look at Mercedes, the reason why she's able to go and have these conversations and have big matches and get people talking and people are buying merch and people are passionate about following her is because she's actually that good.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, all right, I know for a fact that I made history over here and I should be compensated for it based on, if you want to talk about market value, I have people on my team that I can put the market value on paper if you really want to see some numbers. And if you're still not meeting me where I need to be met, I'm out.
Yeah. I just can't see. I can't see looking at all of this any other way. This is what you should want, not just the wrestlers, but anybody to do. If you don't think that, now I'm not going to sit and complain about what you think I'm worth. I'm going to go and show you what I'm worth and then go get it. And they did that. That's it.
Yeah.
And also with EJ coming behind that, I just feel like it wasn't him just trying to, get some jabs in at WWE. I think that this was like, I'm inspired. This is a guy that I've stood next to, and to see where he's gone in his post WWE career, I'm trying to do that as well. I'm trying to get that opportunity to prove myself.
There's a lot of wrestlers that betting on yourself that's all they spent their career betting on themselves. And if you see somebody that you kind of came up with or were in the same locker rooms with, bet on themselves and hit a home run, that's inspiring. Like the message that he put out could feel like jarring or crazy to some, but no, he's just saying like, this is what I went through. And if I kind of went through the same thing that Swerve went through, that means that I can be world champion. I could get a big contract. I could still be something in this. It's more of an inspiring thing. Some people caught some strays in it, but that's just how the game is sometimes. And they should have caught them strays.
That's just what it is, man. We have any more super chats?
Yes, we got a few super chats. Meet Norma says there's a sis in Maryland who, while the crawl on the news was talking about her insurance fraud, her campaign ad played over top. That popped me.
That's wild.
That sounds crazy. The game is crazy out here, man.
Wow.
Yo. I read
Wow.
that twice. Like,
Yeah, no, I'm like, what happened?
yo.
Wow.
Hey, what's over there says watching Cody and Kevin all I could hear in my head is Phil KO impression in my mind.
Yeah, I forgot I did that last week.
And then Wu Young says, sorry about referencing that Swole tweet last night. Regardless, the chatty types still haven't directly addressed what Swerve said.
Absolutely. I don't like that people, and this was what I started to say on Twitter, but I didn't want that much attention. I didn't want to argue with people that much. There's already enough people that want to argue.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like that some people still hide behind the Swole thing.
Yeah.
And we got on this podcast and discussed the Swole stuff. I still think that Tony was wrong, and I still think that he should have apologized.
Totally.
But I don't like that people keep bringing that up now and try to, dismiss actual other conversations with that. I just don't like it. Like you can still think that was wrong and move past that. I mean, the fact that at this current moment, the longest reigning champion of both of these companies that he owns is a black woman says a lot. And you can't just dismiss that with, oh, well, he mistreated Swole. He did, but he did also do good things with Jade. He has done good things with Athena. He has done right by Mercedes, and he has done right by other people. That doesn't erase that, but you can also say that this company has progressed in its handling of black wrestlers.
Yep. Both the champions and both the singles women's champions in ROH are black women. So it's like, I mean, there's some bad stuff that happened, but they've made huge strides in the right direction. So yeah, I hate when anytime I say, what about Swole? I'm like, dog, Swole's not saying what about Swole at this point. So please stop.
Stop doing that. Stop. And it comes off a way. It makes me feel like some of those people that do that don't actually care about Swole. They just want to use it as a gotcha. And I just don't think that's good for anybody involved.
Like, stop using Swole as a talking point because you don't really mean it.
Yeah. And shout out to Swole. Like, all love
to Swole.
As always, man.
That's all of our super chats.
See, we got, well, before we get into some more Humper chats, I feel like we hit a pretty heady topic. Let's get a word from our sponsors, and I will come back with some more Humper chats.
Do some business.
BetOnline.ag is the official betting partner of Fightful. 100% of the time when you get the odds from Fightful, they are coming from BetOnline.ag. And it's not just wrestling, it's not just MMA and boxing. It's football, it's basketball, baseball, hockey. They have the earliest lines. You can bet big with the high limits and rebet functionality. They have the fastest payouts with winnings paid in minutes and the industry's best bonuses on every qualifying deposit. They've been trusted for 25 plus years. It's not some fly-by-night company. BetOnline AG has been there. They've done that. In addition, they're trusted by millions. They've got VIP rewards programs and a ton of popular games. BetOnline.ag, that's where I go to make my bets. That's where I suggest you go to, my friends. Please just bet what you can and bet responsibly.
As always, bet responsibly, but BetOnline.ag is a place to go for your sports betting needs, including professional wrestling.
Bet on some wrestling.
Get into support these Humper chats. More from Tony P. He says Grand Slam was a hoot. It opened and finished with a bang. When Nana was talking and I heard the throat clear, I knew that voice and perked up. The feud is going to be wild. Also, do y'all think AEW's wide storyline is coming dealing with the rise of the youth? I think that's what he means.
The rise of the youth. Is that the main story? No. I feel like the main story is trying to get the silliness side of AEW. Like the main story is trying to, like, Moxley's like, this is real, motherfucker. Like, I'll kill you. This is pro wrestling. Like, we're not about any gimmicks. We're about nothing that's opposite of what the mission statement is here. And I feel like going forward, that's going to be what it is.
Yeah, I can see that. But I can also see where he is trying to, like, kind of point out to some of the younger guys, like, this is where you are. You're good with that. You're good being complacent.
Mm-hmm.
I think we probably get a Darby World Championship reign out of this.
Yeah,
we should.
You know?
I would hope so. But yeah, that's a good place to get into Grand Slam. I thought the first hour or so of the show was very, very good.
Mm-hmm.
Opened with the Bryan and Nigel stuff. I was wondering where we're gonna go with this silly note to go with it. Well, if he's not hurt, then he'll.
Right.
He promoted the match all the way up to the day of. There was no way he was not gonna show up. But playing his AEW
Card subject to change.
Right.
Yeah, there was no way that was not gonna happen. But playing his AEW theme and then playing Final Countdown for him to actually come out was a nice touch. The match itself, I thought, was excellent. It was everything that I wanted this match to be. I thought that Nigel had did a lot of the heavy lifting in building this match. His promos and stuff were very good. And he looked good here. He still looks like he's in great shape. He still looks like he can go. I thought the story they told throughout the match was great. Getting to the end of it and Bryan forcing him to tap out and him yelling thank you after all of this. I thought that was a great touch as well.
It was strange. Like, they, at least for me here on the TV feed, they bleeped out thank you because I thought they think he said something else. But nah, that match was dope. That match was really, really dope. And like, as a guy, I had to go back and watch. I wasn't watching ROH. I really wasn't watching too much wrestling at the time when they were going through their thing in Ring of Honor. So I went back and like, let me tap in and kind of see. And the match lived up to, you know, all these years later to have these guys. That sequence where they were trading wrist locks, going back and forth and counters. That's the art. Like, Zack Sabre Jr. is my favorite guy. So that style of wrestling, I can watch for hours. You know what I mean? Just like the intelligence, the catch as catch can, the trying to one up, but on a technical level. It was a masterclass, you know, at least that part of the match. And it was a dope match. You know, I think I'm not sure what Nigel does now. If he has more matches, he could be a guy that comes in every once in a while. He talks. It's so easy to book a commentator that can still go, because all they gotta do is talk shit, and then somebody come out like, all right, now say that shit to my face. So they could, you know, just do things like that because he can talk with the best of them. So the only thing I wish was we would have had a little bit more of a back and forth leading up to the match between Bryan and, you know, and Nigel, just to have them talk shit a little bit. But other than that, like, I have no complaints. I thought it was dope, you know.
Yeah, I think for what this match was built upon, like, you couldn't get better than the results of this. Like, Nigel looked exactly like the Nigel we kind of expected him to look like in the ring. Like, he kept up with Bryan. He's trying to kill Bryan for most of the match. He's trying to rip out his arm, rip out his leg, like, do everything he can to subdue Bryan in this match. But Bryan's heart, no matter what, you can't. Like, it takes so much more to defeat this guy. And it shows. You could talk all the shit you want about Bryan. You could talk about him for 2 years on commentary every time you do promos, all you can. But when it comes to in the ring, it's going to take a lot more. And I thought this match was that. This was the ROH match that they worked back in the day. Strong style. It's hard hitting. There's a couple spots that were kind of gross. These guys were, it was like, you guys don't do that. Like, I know what you're selling to us, and I'm buying it, dog. You don't have to. Like, you could do the slowest, chillest things in the world, and I'm still going to be in. But they did it. They went for it. They're slapping each other. They're trying to choke each other out. Just like, that hardcore gritty fight that Nigel said that he was going to give, and I think that Bryan needed. I kind of agree with AO. Like, I feel like I wish Bryan was there more to tell a little bit of the story, but also on the other end, like the whole story has been Nigel one-sidedly trying to get this guy into a fight. So kind of finishing that one-sidedness going into it of like Nigel's still the one being like, and I'm going to finish your career. And Bryan is like, where is Bryan? It's kind of been the whole thing. And so for that to happen, they come in with the final countdown. We get the match that we wanted. And for it to end that way, I was like, that, like, Nigel, I think that's like the perfect story to tell. Like, if this is it, like, great. But if this is not it, I would also understand, because like you guys are saying, he did look great in there too. Like, if every 3 or 4 months are like, here's a big Nigel match, I would not be mad at all, because he could go with the best of them, it looked like.
Yeah, I'd definitely take another Nigel match. If they want to give us Nigel versus Zach, I would absolutely.
Let's do that one-on-one. Yeah, I think we'd all take
please.
that.
I would absolutely take that.
That little interaction they had at the what was that, All Out?
All in
at the Battle Royal.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Sign me up, man.
Yeah, that was kind of my only beef with the build to this match, and the build around a lot of world title stuff at the moment is that it's been such a convoluted way to get from A to B, and I wish that they had just done something more straightforward. And it's hard not to just look at this and go, okay, why didn't you just do the All Out match then? Why didn't you just have Nigel come out and answer the open challenge? And this would have made more sense. If anybody had answered the open challenge, it would have made sense for him, because he's wanted this match. And that way you at least could have had more exchanges with him and Bryan in between it. You could have done more of that in 2 weeks to build that pay-per-view match. But
because Bryan was there.
Yeah, but hindsight is 2020. What's done is done. The match we got was fine. I mean, the match we got was excellent. The build, was fine. I just wish that they hadn't made it so confusing.
It's just because that Jack match means nothing now. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the year, we're not going to be like, and that Jack match was just like another Bryan match, and not like another Bryan match.
Ray said that. I didn't say that, because I'll be mad if I'm the one that said it.
Listen, I like Jack Perry, but
listen, I also like Jack Perry. So, but yeah, the tag match was also very, very good. Which I think all of us pretty much expected this match to deliver, even though we didn't like the outcome of the gauntlet. The match itself, those 4 guys, you knew those guys and they were going to deliver. Kyle Fletcher continues to be, one of the breakout stars of 2024 easily. He was incredible. The Young Bucks, when you just let these guys do what they do best, put them in there with some good opponents, I just want more of this, man. This match just shows what hard they bring to the product. This match was so good. And I mean, Ospreay is Ospreay. I mean, how much praise can you give this guy?
I'm almost tired of it at this point. Like, oh yeah, I gotta say nice things about Ospreay again. Ospreay was Ospreay. He was awesome. He connected all of his moves. It was incredible. The hidden blades were insane. Like, yes, Ospreay is Ospreay. No, just kidding, Ospreay. You're amazing. We love you. You're so good. This was again, Reseda, PWG, balls to the wall, 1,000 miles per hour. Like, there's people over there, there's people over here. Kyle Fletcher it's also just, I feel like same as Ospreay. Every time I come on a podcast, I'm like, Kyle Fletcher is amazing. He's the future of this business. The way that he sells, the way that his confidence, the way that he bumps, the way that he performs well on offense, he's incredible. Like, he played his part really well in this. The Young Bucks, it makes me angry when they do this, because like I had to come on my podcast and angrily talk about my favorite tag team of all time just because I want them to do this shit. Like, I don't want to come on this podcast like, what are the Young Bucks doing, when they could just do this on a random Wednesday? They could do this every single Wednesday and be the best tag team of all time like they are, but something happened. But like, beyond that, like, I think for the last month they have given us exactly what they need to give us, and this match was a stamp of like, you could talk all the shit that you want, but if the Young Bucks lock in the way that they're supposed to lock in, there's not a lot of people in the world better than this. There was so many spots in this that I were just like, What do you mean? Like, why isn't this a staple? Every Dynamite should be a tag team main event. Like, I don't understand why we're not getting this, but we did get this. They played into. I thought the finish beyond the stupid Don Callis thing. I don't understand why he keeps going with this screwdriver bit. It never works for him. Watch your own tapes, because you would see every time he tries a screwdriver bit. He don't watch his own tapes. Every time he does a screwdriver bit,
watch his own tapes.
Dog, I'm saying every time he does his bits, his guy loses. Every time he brings out the screwdriver, his own guy loses, and he does it every single time. You gotta watch your tapes, Don Callis. But I thought the tag belt bit was classic Young Bucks finish. So I like that. I didn't love the Don Callis part, but I thought that they got to it.
I thought like there were a couple moments, that last sequence with the screwdriver and the belt, if you shave 5 seconds here, 3 seconds here, just kind of just get to the shit. I don't need you to look at the screwdriver. Should I, should not? I don't want to have to be so violent type of shit. We don't need all that. The ref was... What's the ref's name? Whatever the ref's name, he does all the Young Buck matches.
Rick Knox
has the screwdriver and then just goes to stand in the turnbuckle on the right and just freezes. Like there's nobody there. He's not handing it to anybody. He's not throwing it. He's not dropping it. It's like, dog, like we could shave some time. I know you waiting for your cue, fam. Like let's just get to it. But small shit. Like I think at some point what we have now is Fletcher's clearly about to go back bad. He's about to feud with Ospreay back and forth. They're about to have another fire match. And we're getting closer to like some resolution of this Don Callis family, some resolution of like Ospreay. I thought what they're doing with Ospreay was what they were doing with Omega before Omega got hurt, which is we set this faction up to have him kind of run through everybody on his way to whatever his next stop is going to be. So I think that's kind of what they're doing. Like, is Hobbs healthy enough when he comes back, if this feud is still going on? Is that part of this feud? We have Takeshita, he's still there. Takeshita obviously has beef with Okada as well. So there's some interesting directions that this can go in, but match was fire. Like the Young Bucks are the Young Bucks, man. Like I can't remember the first time I saw them live, but I've seen them live a bunch. Family wrestling entertainment, actually. It was in like a gym. I forget who the match was, but this is super early Young Bucks. Like, and I was like, I was a fan then. Met him, took a picture with him, and all of that. On that same card, by the way, I'm remembering this was a John Morrison versus AJ Styles was the main event.
Oh shit!
Wow,
it was actually pretty fire.
Sounds
the
like
Bucks are the Bucks. I think sometimes they go through these ebbs and flows on purpose, where if they give you this match every time you see them, I don't know if you appreciate it.
That's true.
That's true.
That's true. That's the thing that always fucks me up about it, AO, because most of the time it's on purpose. Anytime they're doing, they know everything that they're doing, and that's what drives me crazy, because they could turn it on, but then I guess like you said, if this was every week, it wouldn't be as great. If it is,
you take it for granted. It's almost the same thing with Ospreay. If you see an Ospreay match and understand how good that shit is, versus like every time he wrestles, you just kind of expect it. So then he has to go another step above or whatever, or you just don't book him in a match all the time. You don't appreciate it as much. You know what I mean? So yeah, the Bucks are the Bucks. Like I haven't had I think sometimes they get a little cold as far as the creative is concerned, and that's what kind of sours everybody on them.
That's it.
But the Bucks are the Bucks. They're amazing.
Yeah, my problem isn't the matches. My problem is just like I'm just kind of ready. Like, put the tassels back on. Like, it's time, dog. Like, enough.
It might be tassel time.
It might be
tassel time.
It might be tassel time, though.
Hashtag tassel time.
That is a fact.
But yeah, I'm with you guys. The screwdriver stuff really wasn't for me. I thought the finish was fine, but you didn't really need the screwdriver stuff. I understand why you're doing it, because they're clearly building up something, whether it be Fletcher turning on Ospreay. They still have Takeshita waiting in the wings, looking menacingly. So I assume that's going somewhere. It seems like maybe this is the way to get Fletcher and Ospreay away from Don Callis family for good. Because I kind of feel like they should just go back to it being just Takeshita and Don. If you're going to keep Don with Takeshita, then just make him his manager, man. He doesn't need a crew of people.
Is he still doing something with Roosh, Callis?
He is trying to recruit.
Yeah, that's
I forgot
true.
that part.
Yeah.
Maybe that's also where this is going. Maybe he's gonna replace Fletcher, or I don't know.
I mean, I'll take a Roosh versus Fletcher or Roosh versus Osprey match. We can do that. We can do that
Roosh and
today.
Osprey. Yeah,
We
put
can
that
do
on.
that today. But I see it the other way. Like I see like the conflict kind of probably drives a wedge between Osprey and Fletcher, at least for the time being. You know.
Yeah. Wonder what the status is on Mark.
True. Also
because
true. When is the Australia? Is that next year?
It's like February.
Yeah, it's next February. But yeah, I wonder what Mark Davis's status is, because man, this tag division could really use all the help.
Man, that'd be perfect time for them to return. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about Mark Davis. Like, haven't heard his name murmured at all. So I don't know how close he is, but they're definitely needed out here.
Yeah. The chat is reminding me also that Trent is with Don, but we haven't seen Trent because Trent has been injured. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to say you don't really need the Don Callis family anymore, but
you don't.
I just think where we're at, I just think where we're at with it, it's not really as good as like the sum of its parts. Like I think you have guys with Don that work well, and I just don't think that I really need the stable at this point. I don't know.
I still need Don. Like I think he could lead, like you said, with Takeshita. I think he's making money, but like as a full stable, I don't think it's necessary.
They also need that key win. You know what I mean? Like if Takeshita, for example, is the cornerstone and the centerpiece of this faction, he needs that key win, that championship win, so that Don can talk his shit and hold the championship while he's standing next to the champion. And until we get something like that, it's like, a lot of, half speed, I guess. Because essentially, like the point of this is almost like the Heenan family or any of these other factions.
Exactly.
You need to build this up to be as big as possible, so the face can then have to overcome everybody, that entire ladder of people that you put in front of them. But you need the key win. You got to build that back up first.
That is an issue that I've been hearing with people with Fletcher. Like we like Kyle Fletcher, but he doesn't have any wins. So like, why are we like we want to believe in him? We know it's the future, but he needs something for us to latch on to. And the family as a whole hasn't gotten that, and they need that.
Yeah, I mean, if you weren't watching Ring of Honor, you didn't see where he was getting the dominant wins and he had the television title run. But I get it.
People don't seem to count Ring of Honor for things.
Yeah, but I also think that some of that has to be building towards him and Mark getting back together and being.
I hope so. Right.
At least I would hope that that's part of this, is that building up the importance of them as a team. But we'll see. I thought all that was good. The Hook Roddy match was much better than I expected. Going into this, I was like, all right, this feels like kind of like a match to just get on the card, a way to get Hook on the card in New York. But never count out Roddy Strong, man. This guy will get an entertaining match out of people, man, and they went for it. There was some of those chair bumps. I was like, ugh.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Roderick Strong is one of those wrestlers that like he'll force you into a good match, like just with chops and just with relentlessness. Like if you're in a Roderick Strong match, you're gonna be in this. I thought that the plunder really added on to it, because you remember Hook is such a confusing, interesting topic. Like after the Samoa Joe match, we were all kind of like, yeah, let's go. We were all kind of locked in, like ready for Hook to be the next one. Then he got locked in with Jericho again, and it was like, this isn't really the best. And he's kind of just been like hanging around. He needs more matches like this, more matches like where we see his different personality, different things that he could do. Because being stuck in the Jericho vortex just really didn't help him. This match, like Phil said, was a lot better than I expected. I didn't know why I was on the card for a while. And then the post-match stuff is kind of really what sent it home, though, when Hook goes over, talks to his dad, gives his dad back the FTW belt, essentially retiring the FTW championship. Taz got emotional. It's in New York, like everything connected to it. Really great moment.
Yo, Taz cried.
Man,
you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Taz cried. I was like, oh shit, this is something. I don't know if I was reading too much into this. For start, like I agree, like the match was better than I could have a fucking fire match with with Roddy Strong.
Straight up, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like,
He's gonna beat you up. He's gonna beat you down to
your
get
ass,
there.
but you're gonna be having fun.
just stay conscious. That's all. That's all I gotta do is stay conscious.
Stay woke.
Yeah, I just gotta stay. I don't know if I read too much into the Hook thing because it's like, all right, he wins the match essentially 3-on-1. You know, it's FTW rules, so there's no holds barred. They get involved, the rest of the crew. So he overcomes that. He wins the match, but then they leave on a handshake. Then he does this interview with Shivani, retires the belt, hugs his pops, walks to the top of the ramp, turns around, waves to the crowd again. Like, what does that actually? What's the next step for Hook? Is it a thing where he's going away for a little bit? Is he? It just made me wonder, like, what's actually, was that a send off without saying that it's a send off, or is there, something, or did I read too much into it? I don't know.
Yeah, I didn't read it as a send off. I kind of just read it as a send off for the FTW title because he doesn't need that belt anymore. It's kind of become an anchor on him, and I mean, I think it was a really good moment of him winning it. But just all the stuff with Jericho in that title, I think after he won it and getting the big defense in New York, it was a good time to write it off of television. And that was probably about the best way that you could send it off as possible. And like just having that moment with Taz and everything, that was very good. But I kind of read it as, all right, I'm done with this chapter. And when he comes back, he's going to be ready to move on to something else. Because I feel like you can move him into the TNT title picture or the international title picture. Have him do something else because he's really outgrown that belt. Like, this guy had an AEW World Championship match. Can't be still carrying around this, unsanctioned belt, man. Go for some, real gold at this point.
And for him to continue his development and getting better, he has to not only be in the ring with people more experienced, which Jericho checked that box, but people that are a little bit more dynamic and offer a speed that helps him. You know what I mean? Like Jack Perry, for example, is one of those. So if they do that TNT, that's interesting. Like Jack has, more experience as far as wrestling in different territories and different federations. So there's something there for Hook to learn. I think the thing at this point is like I thought after the Samoa Joe match that was excursion time. He goes off and he does his thing. What they did with Jack, he goes over to Japan for a little bit, maybe some CML, and just pick up different styles, And because that didn't happen, now it's like, all right, at the very least, because you're not doing this FTW championship or that hardcore division, whatever you want to call it, now we need to have some real matches against real competition, real stakes, and let's see how you do in these different situations now. Like the one thing I don't want to see is somehow he finds himself back intertwined with Jericho, for example. Like we've run this course already. We don't need to do this anymore.
This is the issue that AEW runs into with wrestlers specifically like Hook of not having house shows, not having AEW Dark, not having anything. Like Hook's getting 0 reps if he's not on TV. Like when we don't see him, he's not doing indie matches. He's not doing anything else. And like some wrestlers need that. Hook is a wrestler, like he needs to be doing matches every weekend. He needs to be taking excursions to Mexico. He needs to be taking excursions to Japan. And so I don't know why they don't do that. And I think they need to change how that happens. Because they have a bunch of wrestlers on the rosters that are also like that need reps, and there's no way for them to get them.
Yeah, do some short tours. It doesn't. You don't got to be over there for 6 months, but just do a tour over there and wrestle some just different speeds, different styles, different crowds. Learn how to get connect with this type of audience versus that type of audience. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. If the thing I feel is like the last tie to Ring of Honor is that keeping it from being this developmental feeder system. I mean, they've got Dustin down there as well, but I think that Hook makes a lot of sense to somebody that can go to Ring of Honor and have like a run, maybe have like that pure title for a while and then come back up. I think he would be the perfect person to do that with.
And Ring of Honor has what AO's describing, different styles. There's luchadors there. There's some Japanese wrestlers. There's European. Like he needs to go up there and mix it up. I don't know why. Like they're trying to protect him and put him on a different level than some of the wrestlers. But sometimes you just got to get in there with everybody.
Run that Tiger Style versus Hook feud, man.
They had a
championship. Let's get that moving.
Yeah, I don't know if people remember. They had a pretty good match at one point, and I think that they can have a good match again. I really think that's the way to go. I think they really have to move into making Ring of Honor into developmental if that's what it's going to be, because
I agree.
Like what it is currently, like just having some champions show up on AEW and some don't, just make it its own thing, make it an insular product where you send people down there, and that's where you can have certain young wrestlers develop and come back.
Just make it development. If it's development, make it real development.
Yeah, but you gotta make that decision and stick to it. You can't half-ass it like they've been kind of doing.
Right.
We got also one of my favorite parts of this show, the Nana MVP segment. When Nana came out, and I mean, well, straight away when they announced Nana was going to be on the show, I was wondering, all right, what are they doing? And so he comes out and gives us the status update on Swerve, and then we get MVP interrupting it, and every time this guy talks, I'm just like, man, he's just so good at this, and it just shows you why, you know, he turned things around for so many guys in WWE, why it made such a big difference putting Bobby next to him. And so I thought he smashed that promo. I wish that the New York crowd would have reacted better for him, but he came out to no theme music, and, you know, wrestling crowds sometimes don't know how to react when somebody doesn't come out to music, because they're like, who's this? What's going on? But I thought what he said was great. I thought him coming in and trying to pick at the bones of going, hey, man, yeah, you did a great job at one point, but where's your guy? He had a great year, but where is he? You let his house get burned down. You let him lose this match. You let him lose the title. I wouldn't do that. And he tried to give him the card, and I don't remember who zoomed in on it, but you could see on the card that says MVP Hurt Syndicate. And at the end of the segment, he says, yeah, let me know when he has time so we can talk business.
Something we kind of been expecting and waiting for. We've heard rumors of MVP coming in, his contract expired over there, so like, oh, this could happen. And so when they announced the Nana segment, I was like, okay, this could lead to something, and then it led to that something, and that was great. Yeah, MVP on the mic is so ahead of everyone else. It's so apparent. Anytime that he talks, he can get points over that others just can't in way simpler ways. It's just like he establishes something that is there, and he just enhances it. He's so good at enhancing, and so him coming in it's a super big deal beyond like what on screen is going to represent. I keep saying like he's going to be great on the mic. He does stuff like that, like as a character, amazing. But what he does beyond backstage, what he does for wrestlers and moving them forward and fighting for people is going to be so much more important. And I'm so much more excited having him in AEW for that.
You know, the cool thing about MVP, like what he said, but then his delivery as well. Like he has that raspy voice. It's like you can give a Jadakiss punchline to a rapper, and it's not hitting the same as a Jadakiss saying a Jadakiss line. You know what I mean? So he has that raspiness in his voice that's really dope. I really liked what he said about, or to Nana about, I agree that Swerve is one of the most dangerous, or the most dangerous wrestler that AEW has seen so far. The asterisk is because I'm about to bring my guy in. He hasn't been here yet, but when he gets here, he's the most dangerous guy. You know what I mean? Period. So he just basically this is forcing Swerve's hand to pick a side. Obviously, he's going to side with Nana, and then we get the Hurt Syndicate popping up, you know?
Yeah.
That Lashley Swerve match.
I mean, them immediately teasing that is already me being like, damn, we're getting right to it. Hey, what's up? All right. Okay.
Then there's the other names. Like, I love Shelton Benjamin, him mixing it up with different people on that roster. Like, let's go. I'm buying it.
I don't know why I'm really intrigued about he ain't here, but a Lashley and Darby Allin match for some reason. I don't know. That sounds great.
Yeah, because that's basically jump off of this. I'm gonna catch you and throw you back in that same direction. Like I can see Lashley throwing Darby into the audience. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just throwing you into the people. Fuck you, bro. Like,
Nah, Darby does well in those kind of matches, so I definitely think that could be a good one. But yeah, I like where they're going with this. What did you guys think about him saying that Nana has been shucking and jiving.
It's like it's such a tough one to because we know what that we know what that what's behind that, what that represents. So like it got me because I knew he was gonna say it. You know what I mean? I'm like, I know exactly what MVP is gonna say when he gets in front of Nana, and then he said it, and it's like, damn.
Yeah. The thing is, because I've seen some people online go, "Oh, so he can say it," but I'm just like, but he's clearly a heel. He's saying it, and you're not supposed to like it because the fans like doing the Nana dance. So you're not supposed to like him saying that.
Right.
I thought that was clear, but when I saw certain people tweeting and saying, "Oh, so now it's cool for somebody to come on TV and call him that," but I'm like, yeah, but you're not supposed to see that as a good thing. You're supposed to be on Nana's side because we spent more time with Nana.
And of course, a black man saying it to a black man, way different. Way different. They won't understand that part though.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, hey, I thought it was a good segment.
I thought it was fire. I thought it was, it's kind of the Nana character warrants that type of response from an MVP character. You know what I mean? MVP is going to talk shit. That's what he does. So it was cool.
I feel like it hits because he said it specifically. That's what makes it. Because MVP said it, because he would say it. Like the first thing he's going to come and be like, what's going on around here? That's been his character off rip, is he comes in and he's like, well, you shouldn't be doing that. I could help you do something else. I could help you. So that's what I also thought was a kind of cool thing. Like if you're starting a new company, a new thing, a new hurt, whatever, where do you start? You start at the top. Like, who's the baddest black man you guys got here? Oh, that's Swerve. He was just champion. Well, who's he attached to? He's attached to Nana. So I should probably go talk to Nana. So that's where you have to start. If we're building something, where's the top at? And that's Swerve.
Yeah, and it links with the way that he built Hurt Business to begin with. I was about to call it Hurt Syndicate, but when he started Hurt Business in WWE, that's how he built it. Of like, you guys are not taken seriously because look what you're doing. Look how you're carrying yourself. So of course he would come in with the same approach to Nana because that's what he always did.
Yeah, they'll get it one day. Or probably not.
Levels to it, but man, just the idea, like you said, of Lashley coming in and potentially right away getting the feud with Swerve, and these are two former world champions, what that means.
Wow.
I think that's huge. Very curious to see who else comes along, if we get Shelton, and if this is leading to another 4-man group.
We'll get into a full debate on that group here soon. But yeah, I'm excited about all of it. Very excited. Very excited.
Yeah, we've both talked about this more than once on a podcast or on Patreon. Like, if there's anybody you could add AO to that 4-man group that's an AEW guy, who would you add?
Man, I think, damn. I wouldn't add Hobbs, and I'll tell you why. Like, I think Hobbs needs to stand on his own at some point. He's been from one faction to another faction to another faction.
I agree.
So I've seen like a lot of people say, yeah, Hobbs should be part. I don't know.
I don't agree. I think you're on the right money. Like, 'cause all we know of Hobbs is being in a group. Like, he needs to be by himself. Right.
Yeah. And I think Hobbs versus Lashley is a money match.
Yeah, and that too. Like, yo, I want to see him fight the big homie, not stand next to him.
What I would think would be really, really interesting and kind of ties back to MVP's history in Japan, albeit a different promotion. He was New Japan and Takeshita's DDT. But when we see MVP come in and say, yo, you're representing a guy that should be here and he's not here because you're with him, so you're bringing him down. He can say that shit to Don Callis, and if there's some kind of situation where he wrangles Takeshita away and adds him as a cornerstone of the Hurt Syndicate, I think that's very interesting. And then he has the reputation and the legitimacy because I was the first U.S. champ over in New Japan. I can take you to different heights. You've been with this guy. What have you done? You know what I mean? Like, you've been with Don Callis for this long. People are getting injured. People are losing titles. You haven't won anything. You did better when you went over to the G1. you know, and did all right over there and came back, and now you're losing. Like, what are you doing? Here's what I can do for you. Journal Hurts and he hands him a card. And I think that's an interest. The only problem with that is like it's heel versus heel, but who gives a fuck? I don't care. Like, I think he can talk that level of shit to Don Callis and it be believable. And then, you know, imagine if Hobbs comes back and he's still apart, and then we have this Takeshita with MVP in his corner versus, you know, Hobbs with Callis in his corner and that back and forth. But I would do something like that. I wouldn't just immediately go to Hobbs. I want to see Hobbs just be powerhouse Hobbs, period. You know what I mean? Period.
Word. I agree. I saw an interesting, some people were tweeting, it doesn't have to be a man to join the Hurt Syndicate. Like, what about Kiera Hogan or Red Velvet or something like that? I'm like, that could be interesting too. Like, it doesn't have to be exactly what we think it's gonna be. Like, because exactly what AO's saying, everybody's immediately like Hobbs, and then that picture came out where he was watching from backstage, so everybody was like Hobbs again, and I'm like, Hobbs, slow your roll, you guys.
Man, imagine if MVP is the avenue that brings Athena finally to AEW.
Athena.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm representing legitimately the longest reigning Ring of Honor champion across any division, period. You know what I mean? What more of a cornerstone of a group or a faction do you need? And just have him talk shit on behalf of Athena. That sounds like money to me.
Which I thought this at one point, but boy, did WWE leave money on the table by not pairing him with Jade. That would have been incredible.
I thought that was an easy one. I was like, oh yeah, MVP's going to be with her, but they didn't do it.
I don't know why they didn't do that.
I kind of know why, but you know, time. But yeah, very happy that MVP's in AEW and what's to come among the backs of it.
Yeah. I thought the rest of the show was pretty good. The main event was good. I thought the main event was a little long. That was my only real gripe with it. But it was more of, you know, Mox being incredibly violent and Darby doing things where I'm just like, you don't have to.
You don't got to do that.
It's okay. It's okay, Ram. It's all right.
Yeah. Man, like that, the step spot, the ring apron where he goes and his body contorts and he lands on the steps. Like, yo, Darby, man. Like, do you see Mick Foley? You see how like,
I'm saying, he cannot walk right now. Like, it's
it's entertaining for me for sure, but bro.
Like when I'm turning away from the screen and I've seen deathmatch wrestling and you're just doing regular spots, like, dog, be careful out there. That's all I'm saying. But yeah,
I was not a wrestler. Sometimes standing up, my hips crack. You know
exactly.
What are yours going to do?
Getting older. I think the thing that hurt this match is we knew what was happening. And we didn't. Yeah. The crowd wanted Darby so bad. Like I was saying on the post show, like, AEW has told all of these fans that Darby is your guy. He is the heart and soul of this promotion. Everything that he does is Team AEW. Those fans want him to get a championship match. Those fans want him to win the championship. So when you're pretty much in their face telling them that he's not, and Moxley's here to burn this whole thing down, the writing was kind of on the wall, and I feel like it took away a little bit.
Yeah, I do think the fact that the outcome felt predictable kind of hurt this match. There's two ways you can look at this. I think the fact that the crowd really wanted Darby to win really helped Mox as a heel.
Yes.
But at the same time, it's kind of my same issue that I had with this stemming from All In, where I was saying, all right, why did you give him 2 title shots if he was just going to come away with nothing? And especially like the way that this went, you were owed a title shot at this show and you put your title shot on the line and you didn't have to. You already had the title shot. You had nothing to gain here. The only thing that could happen here is exactly what happened, and you lose. And so I just didn't think it made Darby look smart. I don't think that he really benefited much here. Now you can make the argument that, because like you said, the crowd really wanted it, that this is going to galvanize fans that want Darby to get a second opportunity. Yeah. But I just don't think that you could have, I don't know. I just don't think you should have done it this way. I think you could have done this in a much simpler way.
I think it felt very in line with who his mentor was, making stupid babyface decisions.
I mean, yeah.
Sting, as much as we love him, was like in character. Damn, you're a dumb boy. Like
Right.
Ric Flair again. Word, you think this is gonna go a little different this time? I don't think so. So I think it was that same thing. Like Darby just made a stupid, prideful, I can't say no because I'm a good guy type of thing, and it cost him. You know what I mean? But I think what it does do is it sets up. I don't know if this is like super fantasy booking or if this is direction, but I think like if Mox beats Bryan, then I think Darby's the guy that beats Mox for his championship. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you still have the contract lingering, which we learned this week that you have to actually like
You got to sign it.
out and sign it.
You got to sign
to be
it.
valid, which is weird. And you added this Kip Sabian bit into it, which I don't know, man. I don't know why we need to do that. But all right.
Christian, somebody at the ring has a pin. Like you could have just kept going. It would have been fine. Like Kip Sabian just came and ran off with your pin, and that's it. I was very confused.
Man,
about it.
listen.
But yeah, do you think that Phil? Do you think that's what's going to happen? You think Mox is going to win and Christian's going to beat Mox?
I'm not sure.
I hate it if it does. I hate it.
I'm not sure, but I do think that this has to be leading somewhere with Christian. I don't think you give him that contract and then you don't have some kind of payoff to that.
Right.
But yeah, that whole pin thing that was very silly. I was like, come on, man. I know Mama Wayne got a pin in her purse, bro.
Somebody got a pin around it, and you're just now signing it. Like, what do you?
That
like?
would have made it so much funnier too. Is like if he snatches the pen and it's like, okay, and he just pulls another pen out. It's like, all right, bro.
That bit, like, oh, he stole the pen, can't do the match. I'm like, what?
Yeah, I didn't like any of that at all. But yeah, the match was fine. I thought that this was a good way to move forward. I continue to like Mox as a heel. I think his stable that he's building up is interesting. I like Marina with him. I like that they're continuing to play into the stuff with Bryan and his legacy as a wrestler as a whole. Doing the callback of him getting choked out at All Out and then him coming out on Wednesday with the necktie to try to choke Mox was very funny.
Really good bit. I like that Bryan got some heat on him because they've just been dragging Bryan through the mud. So he needed to do a little something, especially to kind of get to the match. People are like, "Is this match? What is this match?" I'm like, "Look at this! Look at the setup to this, guys. The Tacoma Dome, Bryan belt. Like, what do you think this is?"
Bryan is losing, guys.
What do you think this is?
If you haven't picked up on it, Mox is going to retire this man. That's where this is going.
Right.
I saw Bryan ain't smiled one time on Dynamite. There was no smirk and no happy-go-lucky. So we're getting like bloodthirsty Bryan for the next couple of weeks, and he's gonna go down in a flame. I love Pac's just commitment to always being in gear. I swear to God, him and Randy Orton. Him and Randy Orton are like the all-stars of always being anything. You need to go, we can go right now. Like all I gotta do is take my wrists up. Let's go.
Right.
But nah, I think like he loses. 1,000% he loses. He gets that hometown send-off. It's been a good run. And now we get like heel Mox on top, which is a completely different dynamic. He hasn't really been like an official bad guy in AEW yet. So and with the fact that there aren't really too many restraints with what he can and can't do, you know, creatively in the ring, violence level wise, him on top, but as a heel with this stable in front of him is going to be pretty cool.
Polar Knight says, as a barber, I love this because it's every stage of beard growth. It's fucking hilarious.
That's funny as hell.
As a barber is hella funny.
That is hilarious. I'm probably gonna cut this scruff off of my face very soon. None of this is connecting, and it's not gonna turn into this great beard like AO has. So
that's why. Yeah, no, I was at that point too for a couple, earlier, for a couple of years. I was like, maybe if I keep working on it, I had the beard oil, like go for it. It's gonna connect. Nope, didn't happen for me. So we're moving forward a different way. And you know, shout out to all my beard homies who could do that. It's not for me.
I don't have any control over it, bro. The beard became me. You know what I mean? Yeah. This is short for me too. Like I've had it to where you can't see my neck. You know.
I'm saying. See, yeah, no, I'm thinking about getting the old Beijing beard, maybe. Like,
Yo,
I don't do that.
What do you mean? Like,
I can't let you do that as a friend, bro.
why I can't get the Beijing beard?
Don't do that.
Man, all right.
Like you
Joe.
got a pair of wingtips on your face, bro. You don't do that.
No, every time I see Fat Joe, I'm like, Fat Joe, dog, what
Nah,
are you?
He-
Why are you doing that, Fat Joe?
Why are you doing that, Fat Joe?
I don't know why Fat Joe doing that, man.
I can't let you do that as a friend, man. Like we had Hogan out here going crazy. Hogan at one point had the Beijing going, and he was dyeing the handlebar mustache on top of it. I'm like, yo, all right, dog.
No, Hogan was original with the Beijing.
Nah, you
Just
just
the Beijing from my NWO run.
you gotta own it, man. You gotta own it. Whatever it's gonna be, it's gonna be.
If it's gonna be gray, it's gonna be gray, man. It's
I'm
cool.
getting the lace front dreads when these fall out. Nobody's
Sure.
stopping me. Lace front dreads are getting placed in
Bro.
here.
That's outrageous. That's an
Bro.
outrageous combination of words, bro.
I'm getting the lace front dreads.
I'm
Do
getting
not
the
worry
lace
about
front
it.
Dreads is crazy.
bro. If I ever pull up my phone and I see one of them wild clips of them like putting all of that gray glue and stuff all over your head,
They're
and
pulling
like,
it down
putting
over the
it-
top of my head.
That's
Yeah,
when
pull
the
that shit
dreads,
down, dog.
like the hairline for the dreads, is like damn near at your eyebrows,
Yeah,
so like
right.
a visor. You got like the
Nah,
dread
dog.
visor. You don't want to do that.
Lay my shit down, dog. Just get my glue right.
Lay my shit down.
Ain't nobody
Nah.
gonna know. I'm gonna have that or the dreads connected to the beanie. That's why I always wear a hat, so you'll never know.
That's like when you come in the house, like when chicks get home and they just take the bra off, like, all right, the day is over.
That's
Man,
gonna
take
be
the-
me.
Take the dread hat off, like, oh shit, what a day, bro.
Take the dread hat off. I'm
That's
done with
crazy.
this. Let me hop in the bed, take my dreads
Take the
off.
fan. Let me just fan my scalp.
How
one
about you
time.
do you crazy girl when I take these dreads off? Let me take these dreads,
Like this beanie
take
off.
these dreads off first.
This man said, now I'm ready. What up?
Oh man, too good, too good. Yeah, good show, Grand Slam. Let's get into a couple of these super chats. Hey, what's over there? Says maybe Nigel versus Zack Sabre Jr. at
Yes,
London
please.
Forbidden Door.
Yes, please.
They need
Yeah.
something big for that, and that's big.
Yeah, I would love to. I don't know what the plan is for Zach moving forward. Hopefully, he's winning that IWGP
When
Heavyweight
is that
Championship.
match? Is
It's
that this
in
month?
It's happening, right?
it's in October.
It's not the.
It's
I don't know why
mid-
the 12th is in my brain. That's a different show.
It's mid-October. I'm drawing a blank on the date because Destruction is coming up, and
Mhm,
that's not the match because that's where Naito is going to be defending the belt against Great O'Khan.
mhm.
The match with Zach is mid-October, and Zach wants to win it so he can take it to Royal Quest.
Yeah, I will be watching live for that, man. I set my I watched the Brian Zach match was on my birthday. You know, so that was like woke up 3 a.m., 5 a.m., whatever time I'm in, cereal and coffee, bro. 5 a.m. watching that match, man.
That's the New Beginnings match, right?
New beginning, yeah. In
Yeah,
Osaka.
that was one of the best matches of the year for me.
That's up there for me. Like I'm obviously biased because that's like my guy, but even being unbiased, that match was incredible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm watching that live for sure.
Okay. Cookie Dough 58 says, given their history, they can easily add and quickly heat up Perry's Hook's feud. Those two could totally hate each other based on what went down last year.
Yeah, I could see that. But that's why I'm saying I could see him either doing a feud for the TNT title or, moving on to something else.
I forgot that they did get locked into that for a minute. Hook and Jack Perry, they were supposed to be a tag team. What was it?
That was the match at
Jungle Hook.
All In.
Jungle
where
Hook.
That was the match at All In where he said real glass. He was wrestling Hook.
That was Hook. That's what Cookie Dough's talking about. Those two should totally hate each other based on what went down last year. And then Hook's in the video too.
Chilling.
Chilling.
Mm-hmm,
It's like, damn, that's his whole body language was the damn, that's crazy. Like, damn,
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
wow, that's crazy.
Damn, y'all doing that?
Somebody should take care of that, man. Like, don't you got a match?
Yeah. It reminds me of that gif of Devin Booker when they lose the finals and he's just like looking around. He's like, damn, and then just walks away.
Damn, man. All
We
right.
fighting back here? What happened, Hook? I don't know, man. I was just chilling, and then it started going down.
You want to get something to eat? 'Cause
I just keep thinking about him, that video of him and Dame Dash's daughter, Stoner.
Oh,
Dude,
Ava.
yeah, I'm like, all
Come
right,
on,
Hook.
man. You might have to make him the mayor of New York, man.
I'm saying,
Hook might be the mayor of New York for real, bro.
New York, yeah.
Yo, and like again, that's another wild ass combination of names, right? Like,
Right?
how do we get? Like, I remember Dame Dash was at the venue
Yep,
Yes.
he's at Grand Slam.
at Grand
Yes.
Slam. I'm like, the fuck?
They're like,
Well,
oh,
sorry,
Dame Dash
not
is here.
Grand
I'm
Slam,
like,
Forbidden Door. He was
Forbidden
at
Door.
Forbidden
yeah, I'm
Door.
like, what is Dame Dash doing here? And they're like, oh, this and this and
Yeah.
this. I'm like, oh,
I'd
that's
actually known that they
crazy.
were dating before that or whatever. So I was like, at some point when this actually becomes public information, it's just going to be interesting to see like, what the fuck is the correlation of Dame Dash and AEW? You know what I mean? But
Nah, man.
Dame's a funny guy too, bro.
Y'all got Hook fucked up. That's what it is.
honestly
Look out
Mayor
here.
of New York. Talk of New York.
I want to see him come out with the Rockefeller chain.
I'm saying, y'all, if Hook pull up with the Rockefeller chain, he's
Just
my
for
favorite
no
wrestler.
reason.
I'm sorry.
Just
I
for
want him
no
to be
reason.
champion if he do that. I'm like, nah, forget that. Hook is
You
the
know
man.
what we
Hook that
do
guy.
is wrong.
Nah,
Hook
Hook
come
has
out.
it.
throwing out the rock. I'm like, nah, this is crazy.
Nah, man. That's what it is, man. Hook gonna come out at one of these shows. That's why he waved. He's gonna come out next time we see him, and he's gonna be like, "Yeah, I just want to announce that me and my father Taz, we bought his portion of Rockefeller."
He comes out with the Reasonable Doubt merch on.
No, I thought it was gonna be like when Kanye got the chain, and I'm the newest member of the Rockefeller team. Hook comes out of it.
Nah, they do the vignette like when Shane was like, "Now I own WCW," but he just holds the record up, the vinyl,
Rockefeller.
just dangles the chain.
Taz and Hook to own Rockefeller now is hella funny.
Like, yo, what kind of combination of human beings is this?
Yeah, come on, man. Taz, you got enough money. Come on, put a bid in.
You see Taz
put that
choke
up.
Dame out.
Man,
Then his teeth come out.
I'm the newest.
Yo.
Oh, that's crazy. Why you gonna do? Why you gonna do that?
He throws him in the Taz mission and the fronts come out again.
I get so sad about Dame because like you're Dame, man. Anytime he like he gets ammo for somebody to attack his legacy, I'm like, that's Dame though, you guys, man.
It does look crazy. Every time I see it, I'm just like, nah, but that's
Dame.
Dame, though, man.
Dame is Dame, bro.
I mean, you know, he did a lot of this himself. Every time I think of that, I think of the interview where Memphis Bleak was talking about it. And he said, man, I tried to tell him, man, they not going to fuck with you no more, man. I tried to tell him.
Memphis Bleak is hella funny.
Bleak is like, yo, I went to everybody and said, yo, it's over.
They hear me.
I said, all right, I'm going with the big homie.
I'm just trying to tell you, bro. They not going to fuck with you no more, man.
What
Shout
can
out
you
to
say?
Vic,
Like,
man. Hella funny. Aaron Busby says thoughts on the Mr. McMahon docuseries. I thought it was pretty good, and it did a good job showing the casual viewer how trash of a person he is.
yeah.
It's our last topic of the day, ain't it?
Yeah, we could just hit that as our last topic.
Mhm.
The Mr. McMahon doc came into this week with a lot of buzz, even more buzz when Vince jumped on Twitter for the first time in 2024 and gave us a statement letting you know that while he did not regret being a part of this documentary, he did not approve of the messaging of it and how they tried to blur the lines between him and the Mr. McMahon character. And then when you watch the documentary, it's like, oh yeah, they very much did that. But also, yeah, it seems like you're pretty close to this character, sir.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't seem like this is like some crazy leap to make.
Like they didn't make up a bunch of stories. Like this is like you did it. Like I didn't watch the full thing because sorry. I didn't watch.
Wait, what's going on?
I was just reading something. I didn't watch the full thing because I kind of knew exactly what it was, and hearing people's reviews, it said exactly like everybody's like, we didn't learn any new information, but this. And I'm like, okay, I don't need the buts, because the buts are just like Stone Cold Steve Austin saying he don't believe in CTE. Bruce Pritchard still riding for his dog like he's crazy. Tony Atlas looking like Fred Flintstone. I'm like, I don't really know if I don't really know if I needed all this.
Tony Atlas was by far one of the funniest people on this thing, man. He was great. Just the fact that he was so incredibly brutally honest every time it cut back to him. What a guy. But yeah, I think it's gonna vary depending on how much you are a fan of this stuff, because like if you're a new fan, like a lot of this is new information, but if you've been a fan for a long time, if you watch multiple documentaries or you followed wrestling for most of your life, you already know a lot of this stuff, including some of the scandals. So there were certain stuff that they brought up. I was like, oh, they're really getting into that. Like when they brought up the Mel Phillips thing, I was like, oh, they're talking about the Ring Boys thing. Interesting. But the other part about it with that stuff is they don't go into any of that stuff in enough detail for you to really understand. Like it's kind of one of, it brings it up and it's like, oh, that's really messed up. But then when you really know more and more about it, it's like, no, that's really, really fucked up.
Really, really, yeah.
Like prime example with the Mel Phillips thing, and they brought it up, and you know, they go over the 3 guys that are involved, and those 3 guys get fired, but they bring Pat Patterson back. Now, you know, they did bring up why it was wild that they brought Pat Patterson back, but they don't bring up at all that Mel Phillips was fired initially because he was suspected to be a pedophile, and they rehired him, and they rehired him with the provision to stay away from kids.
Don't do that though.
If I remember the timeline correctly, he got rehired. I think that was 88, and he stayed with the company for another 4 years.
Yeah.
So I mean, and that's not mentioned in the documentary at all, and it's in the article, I believe, that they kept referencing in the documentary. Very surprised to see Phil Mushnick. That's a name that I've heard a lot around this wrestling stuff. So I was like, oh, they got Mushnick. And he is another one that was letting it fly.
He ain't never like Vince off rip. He's always been like, this nigga's the worst. Fuck him. Fuck his company. So
yeah, I don't know if you saw all of it up to this point, Reg, where when they're introducing the Mushnick stuff and they have the voiceover from Vince talking and they're showing all the articles from him, he's like, yeah, I don't know what his issue is with me, why he has this vendetta with my company, I don't know what his problem is, and it just cuts him. He's like, because he's a dirtbag.
Quick cut. He's a dirtbag.
Well deserved. He is.
Only thing new that I learned from the doc was how they have actually got control of the company itself. Like when he bought it from his pops, it was from like profits that the company was already making. So he gave him the company and said, basically, not buy it from me, but don't fuck it up and just pass the money to me. Yeah. So I didn't know that little bit of information, like the line from Linda, you know, stealing from Peter to pay Paul type of thing. Is how they bought the company. But other than that, like, what was interesting to me wasn't so much learning new information as just hearing straight from Vince McMahon and being able to see his body language and listen to his tone of voice. Like, no, you are a fucking dirtbag, right? Because some of these situations that you would think a human being would have remorse or regret, or like, damn, yeah, this is what I did at the time, but 30 years later, looking back on it, yeah, that might have been fucked up. He's like, nah, I don't regret it. I don't regret any of this. So, you know, from the stories of the, you know, sexual abuse and all of those down to different business thing, like, he's a dirty motherfucker. That's the bottom line with Vince. And I think, like, had this scandal not broken and those accusations came out and the court complaint and all that not dropped, it feels like this doc would have been even more rosy. Like, it would have, like, touched on this a little bit, but this was really his what was the Jordan doc? Last run?
Last dance.
This was his kind of last dance type of thing.
Yikes.
You know,
yeah, because Vince is...
it would have ended up with the, you know, historic deal that they just made for the company, and now we're on Netflix. You know, it would have ended with how he's riding off into the sunset more so than, yeah, he might go to jail for doing this shit.
Because in the doc, Vince's guys are still Vince's guys. That's what kind of was crazy. That's what kind of was like about it to me. Because like the ones that he rode for, and he brought him the prominence. They're still like, he's a genius, he's this, he's a father figure, he's all this, and that part was kind of like, oh.
They're still trying to be very careful about what they say about him.
Mhm.
We saw that with several people. When Jimmy was on screen, he's just like, I don't know if I could say that, baby. I don't know if I could. I don't know if they want me to get into that.
Exactly. Yeah, he's like, I don't know how much of this they want to be out there. It's like, well,
why are you here?
Your whole point of being interviewed is null and void now, bro.
Right.
We're asking you. We're not asking them.
We're not asking them, dog.
Yeah, but
I don't know how much they want me to talk about this, baby. Like,
yeah.
The part that Vince had where it was like the I forget the female referee, right?
And, Rita Chatterton,
yeah,
right?
And like he's answering is like, well, no, it wasn't sexual harassment, or I didn't, whatever. But even if I did, the statute of limitations is up. It's like I immediately thought of the OJ book. You know what I mean? It's like if I killed her, this is how I would have done it. You know what I mean? It's like, bro, like you did that shit.
That sounded
crazy.
Very, very incriminating. He said multiple things like that did not sound good after the fact. I mean, at this point, there's no surprise about the Owen stuff at all. It's just still uncomfortable to watch all of it because they're showing all the Owen stuff, and at one point they show Jarrett backstage, and he's supposed to just get back to work, and before he could cut his promo, he's like, before I say anything, I'm praying for you, Owen. And when he says that, you can see Deborah behind him almost break, and it's just awful to watch. It's like, you should have just stopped that show. And he's still justifying going on and keeping the show
What
going.
did he say? They came to see a wrestling show, not a man die. I'm like, put this guy under the jail, you guys. What's going on?
If it was me, I would have wanted the show to go on. It's like, my man, you're clear. The point is here, and it's going way past you. You know,
I mean, again, none of that is new. We already know that. If you've watched the Owen doc, they get into more of the detail around his death and like how negligence played into it, and none of that is covered here in depth. It's the same when they briefly talk about the original screw job, and they briefly get into Wendy Richter, and Vince being Vince is because he's still defending. I'm just defending what's mine, and he's like, well, she had gotten a little too big for britches. She didn't want to lose the title. That's not what happened. She wanted a raise. That's what happened. Exactly. You didn't want to pay this woman more, and you conveniently leave out like the stuff between her and Moolah being the Spider Lady. They don't talk about any of the Moolah stuff at all.
Right. Well, can't mention Moolah. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, and there's a bunch of stuff that they don't mention at all about, like Laurinaitis is not mentioned in this thing at all.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like,
they don't
do it if you're not really going to get into it. Is what I'm saying.
I mean, a lot of stuff is very surface level, but by the end of it, I definitely got the feeling that this was like, all right, let's paint Vince as the bad guy here, or at least like the most problematic guy in the room, but also shoot everybody else in bail and say, well, WWE is still doing very well without him. So, everything is heading to greener pastures because now you still have Stephanie. And there's absolutely this attempt to make all of his kids into sympathetic figures by the end. All of the Shane stuff to make Shane out to be sympathetic. And listen, all of that may be very genuine. I'm sure that his relationship with his father was very difficult, and I do buy all of that. But it just has this vibe of showing you like, well, everybody in this organization's not bad. It's mostly Vince, and Vince is gone. So
the bad part's gone. We're good now. You can watch us when we're on this network in a few months.
Yeah, and that was the part.
I feel bad about it.
That was the part of it that kind of gave me a ick feeling about the whole thing. And I initially wasn't even going to watch this. When we talked about the podcast, I had no real interest in it. But I was up early working the day that it aired, and I was like, oh, whatever. I can throw this on as background noise. And you know what it is. You turn something on, and you watch enough of it, and then it turns into, all right, well, I got to see how this ends. And so I ended up watching all of it. And it's a very entertaining doc. It's the same director that directed the Tiger King doc. So it has the same kind of tone to it. It has the same kind of tone of comedy where, they'll put out stuff where he says things where he isn't challenged, but they do enough to make him look foolish. Like, cut in some clips that contradict what he's saying. But there's just so many things that I don't think they went into enough detail on.
I wanted to come out of this thing being like, that guy's the worst fucking person of all time. He needs to go immediately in jail. And that wasn't the vibe coming off of this.
I mean, I think that they leave you enough room to draw your own conclusion. And he
they
says
shouldn't do that.
He says and does enough stuff in there that makes you think like this guy is not a good guy. Like even when they cover the steroid stuff and the way he gets off, you very much get the idea of like, hey, maybe he shouldn't have gone to jail for this, but he's also not a good guy in the way he's handled all of this. Even when they cover like concussions and CTE and the way that he talks about that and kind of the way that he tries to bring in Chris Nowitzki and go, yeah, we want to know more about your research and we want to change things, but also he says other things that contradict that as well. It's
right.
Throughout this thing, he is a walking contradiction. He'll say one thing and then take 3 steps backwards several times. To his point of why he didn't like the documentary and why he felt like it was a hit piece. Towards the end of it, before they get into the lawsuit stuff again, we get this clip from Pritchard again, and Pritchard is upset. He's like, I didn't like this documentary at all, based on a preliminary cut I got, because I felt like it was a gotcha. I feel like they didn't show the human side of him, and he goes into all this stuff like why he thinks he's a great guy and what he's done for him personally, and then the next thing we get is the lawsuit stuff. So it immediately makes him look crazy.
2 days later, you get the title. 2 days later.
Yeah, it immediately like makes him look crazy, and then we get the revelation that he doesn't want to do any more interviews once the lawsuit stuff comes out. He cancels all of his interviews, and the last thing we hear him say, which is very ironic considering his statement, is him going into what is his legacy. And so the narrator asks all of the guests on this thing, what do you think his legacy are? And everybody's tiptoeing around it. Nobody knows what to say. Cena's like, I don't know if I'm the right person to ask that question. Everybody is just
the right person to ask that question. That's really funny.
Everybody's tiptoeing around it. Tony Atlas, again, very brutally honest. He's like, he just jumps in and says he's going to go down as one of the greatest promoters of all time. But then when he asks Vince is just like, I don't know. And then he goes into, I don't know if anybody really knows me. And I don't know if people really know me outside of the characters on television. And then he goes into this synopsis on wrestlers and the blurring the lines between their character and who they are. And he says, a lot of times people get lost in the character and the character gets so big that they start to lose themselves and they don't know which is which. And he says, I don't know at this point, is it that the McMahon character is dialed up or is it the other side is dialed up? I still don't quite know the answer to that. And I'm just like, okay, but you told us in your statement that you're not the McMahon character. What you just said there is the complete opposite. And he goes into a lot of stuff also with his treatment of women. They downplay some of the stuff with him and women, but the worst thing about the lawsuit, every time I read something about it, is that it makes all of the stuff he did as a television character to women age even more poorly. Because now when you look at it, it's like, hey, this kind of seems like who you really are. Like, because if you're getting off on humiliating people behind the scenes, that's probably why you were doing it on TV.
That's exactly what it was. Like he was playing out his nasty fantasies. Like when you hear all the stuff that he was doing behind the scenes and then you see what he was doing on front, it's like, oh, we were a part of like some nasty fantasy booking thing that you had going on and you played out to it. Like the Stephanie stories they have is like, what the hell was this guy doing?
Yeah, that was, it was too, like, there was the incest angle, which was nuts. But then there was also him wanting to put their actual legit shoot wedding on pay-per-view.
Yes.
Like he wanted to put that on pay-per-view and then she's like, nah, and then had a match with her the week of it to where I gotta just hopefully not get injured or not get hurt because my wedding is in like 3 days. Like, what are we doing here?
Bro, comes off as a very petty man throughout this thing where he doesn't get what he wants. And so then he does something to punish somebody.
Yeah.
Like they brought up those the tanning salon lawsuits and how right afterwards he put an angle on TV where I think it was Mickey James falsely accused somebody of something. And I'm just like, I'm pretty sure he's done that more than once where some real life stuff has happened to him and then he put an angle on TV that made fun of it. And it kind of says everything as well. Even when they got into the Ashley Massaro stuff, they don't really scratch the surface with that. But even that makes him look very, very petty.
And it's also like it's like the age-old tale of the person that kind of gets too big for anybody else to check, so they just keep going further and further and further. Like, I've gotten away with everything. You know, he on camera in storylines would always say stuff like, the federal government couldn't take me down. Like after he beat the steroid trial, like what are you gonna do? So then he's like really believing it. There is no big homie, so to speak, for Vince to be checked. So then he just keeps going further and further and further. And if your morals were already out the window, you're just gonna continue to do more and more heinous shit until at some point you do end up getting caught up. You know, we see it with, I mean, every powerful person that you can think of that's been in the news recently has been a situation like that, to where you just didn't think you were ever going to get caught or anybody was going to be able to check you. Now you're out of here, bro.
Yeah. I mean, the documentary does do a good job of that, of showing you every scandal that he kind of got through or narrowly got past, and how every time he did that, he would come out of it even more like brazen and even more like, oh, well, what are you going to do to me? This didn't stop me. That didn't stop me. I mean, from the beginning, going through the first few lawsuits, getting past the steroid trial and coming out of steroid trial, and WCW almost putting you out of business, and you getting past that. And at every turn, he would come out of it more and more like, ha ha, what are they going to do? Like,
got him. Can't stop me.
Right.
And so, man, but there's some things that we already knew as well, and just to see certain people actually say it on camera, it's like, that's very crazy. Like Hogan saying on camera that he snitched on the wrestlers and he ran and told him that Jesse was planning a union. Like, that's something that longtime wrestling fans already knew, but just to hear him admit it is just like, dude.
That's how I felt about the whole doc in general. Like, it's more so, it's not that we didn't know a lot of this stuff. It's like, now I'm hearing you either admit to that being the case or hear you verbally justify why you were all right with doing that or why that was the right move or you don't regret it. It's like you're confirming for me that you're a piece of shit. You know, we kind of already knew this, but you're confirming this now.
Right.
Hogan comes off very poorly in this documentary, if you were wondering. Not just him admitting that he snitched on the wrestlers, but the bit that's been everywhere of him going to Arsenio Hall show and lying about steroids, and then
yo, when Vince is like, yo, bro, just tell the truth. You know you're a liar. You know what I mean? Vince was like, you should have just came out and told the truth.
Yeah, even when everything is coming down and he's saying, well, I don't think wrestling can succeed without Vince McMahon. I'm like, Hogan.
And then there's like the year down there, 2022.
Yeah. He also cracks me up every time he talks about Ultimate Warrior, because he'll say enough to make Warrior look good, and he'll always make the point to tell you, I did what I was supposed to do. I did what Andre did for me. I put him over. But then he'll always throw like very backhanded compliments at him as well. Yeah, Hogan, something else, man. He comes off very bad. Pritchard, of course, I think doesn't come off well either.
Just going to bat for his friend. He didn't do anything to me.
Yeah, which
he was always great to me.
Which I would expect him to do, but again, it's just crazy to me that they didn't interview Laurinaitis at all. They didn't have Laurinaitis a part of this at all. They don't even talk about Laurinaitis. They don't talk about a lot of other people that's in Vince's circle that was probably also implicated here. It's definitely a choice.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation all around, because it still the lawsuit is going on, you know?
Yeah, we're now into federal charges. The lawsuit has been paused because the feds are in there. So it's and I mean, we got some commentary from the Wall Street Journal and the people that put that article together. That was interesting. I thought it was also very interesting with Mushnick, and I guess it goes without saying as well with Mushnick. He's right about Vince and he's right about some things with pro wrestling, but he also doesn't seem like a great guy either.
No.
When you consider a lot of his history and a lot of ways he talked about race and things, also not a great guy. But when they did bring in Mushnick and they brought in other journalists from outside a wrestling bubble, there's this overarching theme of, all right, well, nobody really wanted to cover this because nobody took it seriously. It's just silly pro wrestling. But when people actually dug in and there was actually journalists with, the resources to actually chase down a story and investigate it, all of a sudden, all of this stuff started coming out immediately. Because that's how the Mel Phillips stuff started happening. And the Mushnick stuff also led to the steroid stuff. So that part of it was very, very, very interesting. But like I said, mixed bag of a documentary. I think depending on how much you know about pro wrestling, how much you know about Vince McMahon, will probably paint your enjoyment of it. I think it's an enjoyable documentary for what it is, but it kind of tries to cover too much and it doesn't focus enough on just Vince McMahon. It tries to be a history of WWE as well, and so it's kind of hard to balance both.
Right. We don't need a history of WWE. They already put out a bunch of docs that are that. Like, that's why I know everything that's on it, because they already told me everything that's on it.
Yeah. It was great having somebody like Shoemaker and Meltzer on there because Meltzer at several points rebutted some of their mythologies that they've created. One of the funniest clips out there is him debunking the attendance numbers for WrestleMania 3, and he does that several times where he'll be like, yeah, well, they said this, but it's kind of this.
It's
hits
Dave
every time.
Well actually Meltzer.
Yeah,
Yes.
totally.
Well, actually.
Which, I mean, and this is where I think Meltzer is kind of at his best a lot of times, where he can act as a historian because he was there for a lot of this stuff. When they hit the Donahue clips and Vince is sitting there and Meltzer's sitting next to him with the big shoulders and the mullet.
Yeah, that was crazy. I actually hadn't seen that footage before. Like, that was crazy. That was crazy.
Yeah. I'm trying
All
to think
of those clips, like, and I'm sure we've all seen them, throughout the years, but every time you've seen an interview clip where Vince is on a different show, it never goes right.
No.
Bro, the Bob Costas one.
Yeah, the Bob Costas one, like, he's in his face. He's trying to flip the papers out. The dude from Canada, I forget his name.
Armand, I think that was his name.
Yeah, like, it just never goes. But that's like, you get under Vince's skin and it's like, I can't control myself enough to play this character anymore. Like, I'm not actually cool,
Right.
And he just loses his shit and confirms, like, you are an actual psychopath.
Yeah, there's that. The Costas interview has been all over the place. Yeah. Like, if you haven't seen the Costas interview at this point, you're living under a rock, and it never gets old. Every time I see it, it's still funny to me every time.
And Costas was on this on the doc too.
He's on the doc, pretty prevalent. He was a great addition. But that one, and there's another clip of him recording this voiceover or something, or video package where he's saying, and WWE is a safe place where you don't have to worry about drug use. And before the camera cuts off, he does like this. Like, he hates the very idea of filming this.
Because he was lying.
Of course.
Crazy.
It's a solid doc. Like, I think, like, whether knowing the stories or not, I think it's definitely worth a watch. Just to be able to form your own opinion. And again, like, to see him actually say this shit from his own mouth that's the money part of the doc.
He says some very damning things multiple times. And a lot of wrestlers that you expect to be who they are. Brett is very Brett here. Brett is no nonsense, but also Brett is very much a fan of Brett. He's great throughout the thing.
I'm an artist.
It's Brett.
True artist.
True artist.
He goes over the screw job stuff, and this is just how unnormal a lot of this stuff is, how unserious wrestling is. When he's explaining after the screw job of him spitting in Vince's face, and he goes over like this whole description of how he does it, and Vince is just like, "Wow, that was amazing. I don't know how he even did that." It's like, spit in your face. Like, what do you mean?
Vince was impressed by like the aim of the spit.
Like, bro, he spit in your face. Like,
It's like, dog.
The most ridiculous thing ever.
or when they get into the punch, which we've heard multiple times about the punch, and there's just some things, as many times as I've seen documentaries about the screw job or heard stories about it, it is never not funny to me when he's sitting down and he asks Sean, "Hey, you know about this?" Nope, hand to God, didn't know nothing about it. No way, no how.
I just grabbed my belt and got the fuck out of there.
Next thing you know, you see him with his pants on, doesn't even put a shirt on, grabs his bag, he's out of there.
Mm-hmm.
But then you get to the part where he talks about punching Vince, and this is how funny WWE is and Vince's people are. Well, I knew he was gonna want to punch me, so I figured I would give him that.
Yeah.
I don't believe that for a second.
Yeah, I can't believe that either. He's like, "Oh, I waited for him so he could get his lick back." I'm like, "Yeah, all right, bro."
Even Brett was like, I don't know where they keep, telling this story from, but
Yeah.
actually here's what happened. Like, yeah, he did come to the locker room, but we locked up and I had to get my one opportunity to get a clean shot in. And it had to have been an uppercut because there were too many people in there trying to break it up. It wasn't that he stood in front of him, put his hands behind his back and let me hit him.
Right.
That's not what happened.
Drilled him.
Drilled him.
Brett is the man.
Love Brett,
Love
man. Yeah, but I think people will get their enjoyment out of it, based on what they want to see out of it. If you're looking for something to be just like a complete expose on Vince, it's not going to be that.
That's not it. Yeah, I expected it. I'm glad they confirmed it. I mean, there's going to be some people that don't know the entire history of WWE and that are going to watch this, and it's going to do something for them. So that's really who this is for,
Yeah, and I don't think that it lets him off the hook. I think that it does paint him as a bad person at multiple times, but I don't think that it really followed a lot of stuff that he should have. I think they could have given us more detail on some things, and they didn't.
Right. This was the Bill Simmons doc, right?
Yes.
Same.
Bill Simmons executively produced it, but the director was the same director as Tiger King. Chris Smith, I think that's his name.
Gotcha. So yeah, you can check that on Netflix. We're gonna get into a few super chats and then that's it. Hey, what's over there says my picks are Scorpio Sky, Private Party, or Anthony Bowens for the new Hurt business / syndicate. Possibly.
Scorpio Sky's still around, right?
Yeah, he's still around.
Yeah.
Listen, man, Anthony Bowens might be the one, bro.
Listen, Anthony Bowens though.
That might be the one. Like seriously, a serious Anthony Bowens and you're considering him as like the Orton of the group that has like the future that's gonna go on a singles run. I might be here for that.
You might have to think about that one. Adrian Carpenter says Fightful Select reports that Powerhouse Hobbs is now cleared and cleared to return and awaiting creative. Hurt business ? No.
It's not what I would like to see him do, but I'm glad that he's ready to come back.
Me too. I'm happy that he's cleared too, and I hope that he gets what he wants.
He looks incredible, man. This guy is yoked.
Gigantor. Hey, what's over there says the Vince stock proves Triple H is definitely a credit boy.
Hey, I thought that multiple times throughout this documentary. He even took credit for the idea for the screw job. He was like, well, it's my idea because I was like, hey, if he doesn't want to lose, let's make him lose.
Credit boy.
And this also why I'm like, this documentary, it goes out of its way to paint Vince in a bad light several times, but it stops just short of saying things about Triple H multiple times. Even when they showed the blackface thing, they only showed X-Pac. They didn't show him in blackface. Wonder why.
What stood out to me about like when they brought up the Clique, I love how it's also is like, yeah, there was a backstage crew, the Clique, as if we haven't heard this shit a million times. But he omitted Sean Waltman's name. He said the Clique, and he said Hall and Nash and myself and HBK, and Sean Waltman wasn't even like mentioned as part of that crew. And the reason why I bring that up is I had done something a couple of years ago just looking around and putting this little article together that ended up being a video where Sean Waltman is the guy that started doing the crotch chop in the Too Sweet gesture first within that crew, and then they were more popular and brought it to TV and brought it to prominence. But I had just kind of traced that all the way through DX being popular and NWO being popular, and even the Bullet Club using those gestures, all the way up to, you know, AEW now, and just speaking about how influential Sean Waltman actually is because of those two simple things that the rest of the crew, because they were pushed, actually did and brought to popularity. But him not even being mentioned in the doc as part of that crew was like weird. I don't know if that was editing or if that was Triple H just not mentioning his name, but it's like, Sean Waltman is the guy that you got the cool shit from. You know what I'm saying?
There's
like,
still Little Bro and the Little Bro. That's what all it is.
Yeah, I mean, but again, they very much tried to paint a rosy picture of Triple H at multiple times where I'm like they showed a brief clip of the Katie Vick thing, but they don't really contextualize it. And even the way they talk about the clique of, oh, well, they were just like this noteworthy clique of guys. They don't really tell you why Brett had a problem with them because they were politicking and all this other stuff. Like, they don't tell you why them of all people being involved in the screw job set him off as well, because the reasons he did not like them. And yeah, there are multiple points where he says things, and he says one of the smuggest things in the entire documentary, man. Let me get the quote correct in my brain, but it annoyed me so much when he said it. When they're talking about the Attitude Era, and he says, well, you know, we did a whole bunch of terrible things back then. And I think, like, yeah, you look back on that, like, that's kind of crazy. But, you know, who's worse, the person that does it or the people that like it?
What?
Yep.
Yeah. Very, very, very smug, which he usually is.
Who's worse, the people that do it or the people that like it?
People that are watching it and enjoying it.
That's so stupid. That is so dumb. Aaron Busby says Paul Heyman's story on Vince and Shane was something straight out of Succession.
Oh, yeah. Heyman tells this story about Shane and Vince because, again, they're trying to paint this picture of Shane as the black sheep of the family. And I definitely buy into it. I definitely buy into his troubled relationship at times with Vince.
Definitely.
And he gets into this story where they had a disagreement, and he basically tells Shane, like, hey, if you want to do this, you're going to have to get me out of the way to do it. See this knife right here? Stick it right here if you want to do it, because that's the only way you're going to get that done is if you get rid of me, just like I would have got rid of my dad if he got in my way. Which is a crazy thing to say.
Stab me right now.
Combination of words. Like, why are you telling you? All right.
But that leads me to believe that somebody in that circle definitely leaked information that led to a lot of this stuff, because another thing that they do in the doc often is they paint this picture that Vince was not going to leave of his own fruition. The only thing that was going to take him out, and I mean, we heard this for years as wrestling fans, he's going to die in that chair. I definitely feel like there was a scheme to get him out of there.
Yep. Like, we got to kill him to get him out. I know how to kill him. You know?
Yeah.
Triple H and Nick Khan.
And that's not, and don't, of course, people don't take this the wrong way. That's not me saying there's no validity to the lawsuit. But the information that started leaking at one point, it came from somewhere. And it came from somebody inside that company, I believe.
Yep. Well deserved. I hope he goes down. That guy sucks. That guy stinks. He's the worst. I hope this does help of people being like, okay, we got to get this guy to go down then. But I just don't know if it will. That's all of our super chats. I appreciate y'all.
Yeah, let's get into some humper chats and let's get up out of here. Green. Load for your boy. A blank screen for me right now. Eventually it'll give me the actual humper chats. Here we go. Fine. see from Tony P. He says SmackDown was decent, but even though I liked the Game 6, I didn't like the ending. Even though Bayley and Naomi cooked, why is Naomi a bridesmaid again? Overall, that main event made up for it. Also, Randy, why are you being messy? LOL. Yeah, I kind of felt the same way that some stuff, while I enjoyed the match, I didn't enjoy it as a whole. Some stuff stopped me from, fully being behind it because I could not help but think after the Bayley and Naomi stuff. All right, why did we do this match last week? What was the point of any of that?
Mm-hmm. Seems like just like if you're gonna get to, it's kind of like the Darby Allin thing. If you're gonna get to that, you should have just got to that. Like, why did Naomi have to be a sacrifice in that?
Yeah. Yep. See more from Tony P. He says, Tony is doing a fun side mission. I don't agree with TK's move with the Lucha Bros, but I get it. And Penta, you fucked up, dude. It was funny how people were doing AEW is for the ninjas talks when MVP came out. Then when WWE came with the Cardi news the next day. Yeah, of course. Which was all very funny. The Lucha Bros stuff came up again. We talked about the Lucha Bros in depth last week because it very much seemed like they were done with AEW and they were leaving. Sounds like Tony hit them with the hold on, player. I'm not a fan of him adding time to Ray Phoenix's contract. And it sounds like he added time to Penta's contract as well. There's some messy stuff in here with the way it seems like they're trying to do business on the way out. And I understand Tony not wanting to reward that. I just don't agree with putting time on their contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, at all. At some point, it's like, what are we gaining now? You know what I mean? If you're adding more time, what if he starts to wrestle again? He's booked for matches. He gets hurt again. Do we just continue to add more time? Like, let's just, let it run out. Whatever the original terms were, if you have 2 months, 3 months, whatever, let that run out or let them out of the contracts early and let's just kind of wipe our hands. And at some point, if there's an opportunity to do business in the future, we do business in the future. But this is, again, like what I said earlier, these companies do not give a fuck about you. Now, you also have a responsibility to yourself to understand that your name is your brand, your name is your business, essentially. So let me just be as intelligent and smart and strategic as possible. So if there's something about them leaking information about where they were going before things were official and ready to move on, that sucks. But again, like, in no way, shape, or form am I siding with the big-ass company just saying, nah, fuck you, I'm gonna just add and you're going to sit on the shelf until I feel like letting you go or whatever. Like, that's trash. I think that's trash.
It's unfortunate because there's case by case situations. Like sometimes I'm like, yo, no. But like some wrestlers, it sets a precedence. So if you do this for them, then you have to do it for everybody. If I see that the Lucha Bros or fucking Cody or CM Punk or anybody moved a certain way and I figure I can move that way, then what does that do for my company as a businessman if I'm Tony Khan? Like if I grant it for you, then I got to grant it for everybody. And I just can't move my business like that. So I see where he's coming from. It's unfortunate though in this particular situation, just because of what these guys did to help launch this company and the part that they played in it. So it's like, damn, I wouldn't do this for everybody, but these guys I would do it for just because of the sacrifices they made. So it's an unfortunate situation to be in. I hate when people are like, oh, they're blocking. I've seen they're blocking their bag, but like they're still getting paid for the current place they're getting their ass. So it's not like really blocking a bag because you're still getting a bag. But it's all a dumb, unfortunate situation, and I hope it gets resolved.
Yeah, I don't really like anything about it.
I hate it.
Especially
I hate people talking about contracts. I hate people being involved. Like we should know about any of this.
Yeah, that's my stance. Is like I know the contracts that I sign, and that's it. You know what I mean? I know where my signature goes, and that's it.
Yeah, people making this tribalist thing like they do with everything. I'm just like, I don't like when WWE does this. I don't like, so I'm not gonna like it here either. This isn't like, especially when you come into this and you are building this off the backs of being an alternative and saying that, you know, you're going to treat the talent different, I don't think that that's a good sign that you're doing something that they would do. And I'm sure you can get into, well, it's just business, but I just don't like it.
Yeah.
But, you know, that's that. Tony P continues. He says the optics and time was funny as hell. I knew they got Cardi before Wednesday, but why I feel Triple H was seeing black folks reactions about MVP and was like, I got something for them tomorrow. That's hilarious. Yeah, we got the Cardi and Bianca announcement for SummerSlam 2025. Officially going to be a 2-night event in Jersey at the MetLife Stadium. That's cool. I enjoy seeing more rappers and hip hop involved in these things. I think that that's dope. I don't know if I have any interest in going to MetLife for 2 nights, but that was cool. I think that this was overdue though. Like I knew after a while when WrestleMania was a success as a 2-night event that this was eventually coming.
They're gonna start turning all their big events to 2 nights events. It makes sense.
Yeah, I think there's 2 Rumbles, there's 2 Money in the Banks, I think there's 2 Survivor Series, like that Big 4, Big 5.
That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could definitely see Royal Rumble if none of the other ones becoming a 2-night event.
Yeah. One night men's, 1 night women's.
Yep.
Yeah, I could definitely see it, but we'll see. More from Tony P. He says, also feels WWE is shifting to get more hip-hop connections recently. Yes, black culture usually is the trendsetter in this country, but I feel they are also doing it because of a certain optic issue that seems to have been getting louder recently. Yeah, you could read it that way. I've seen people saying that this is another pay-per-view coming up where there are no black males wrestling on the card, and Bianca and Jade are hosting the show. But and thinking about this being in Atlanta, and
it looks crazy.
It looks wild, but I think putting Bianca and Jade here is for a reason. I think that some of that is to build up to War Games. I don't think they're just going to be there completely in a hosting capacity. I think there's going to be some storyline stuff there as well.
Right.
But we'll see. I think this is our last one from Van Twin Blade. He says, I finally got to watch In the Heat of the Night for the first time. Interesting. That's not where I thought that sentence was going, but
it's a great way to end the pod.
He said it's set in Mississippi, but was filmed about an hour south of me in Sparta, Illinois. Sidney Poitier slapping the shit out of old white prick. It's cathartic as fuck. 8 out of 10 movie. Go watch. I did not think you were gonna bring out a Heat of the Night reference. Wow.
Shout out to Sidney Poitier.
Yeah, absolutely. Shout out to Sidney Poitier. Absolute legend. Before we get out of here, also rest in peace to Maggie Smith. Absolute legend. A lot of things that she was tied to. Sister Act, of course. Harry Potter. Absolute legend from the UK. Condolences to her family and loved ones.
Legendary. Rest in peace.
Absolutely.
Just gonna refresh, make sure that there are no more Humper chats. But while I'm doing that, AL, what do you got to plug? I know you plugged the hat, plugged the podcast, but what else you got going?
Yeah, man. Like just 2 things, right? Like just put these hats out, like I mentioned, so you can pick these up at partofmyfresh.com. A little black on black leather, or your Brett fans. But really, like everything that I'm doing, I work in advertising. I got the music project No Flows Bar that had Rich Latta and Graham from Public Enemies and my man Heartbreak Julio. That's available everywhere on the Spotify's and the Apple Podcasts and the Hot 97s every day. That's my words type shit. But everything that I have going on is at my website. It's madebyAOBaker.com. And then of course follow me in that little box above my head. I'm everywhere at I am AO Baker. All socials. Yummy. Shouts to the Ringside Club.
Yes, sir. Yeah, hey, next week it's something.
Yeah, next week is the anniversary of this podcast. I chuckled because looks like O'Shea is dropping his podcast same day as the anniversary of our podcast.
What's up with that? What's up, O'Shea? You got beat?
Congrats to that. What anniversary is it?
3 years, buddy. 3 years.
Salute.
Three of
It's
them
actually
things.
my 3-year wedding anniversary this week, matter of fact.
Wow.
What's up? Congrats
Congratulations.
to you, bro.
Thank you. But congrats to y'all, 3 years. That's what's up.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I think you've got a big list dropping next week on the anniversary of our pod.
The anniversary of our pod. Actually, I moved it to the day of our pod because I'm dropping the top 10 list officially on Busted Open Radio that morning. So October 5th will be the release date of the 2024 BW 500. So excited to get yelled at next week. Thank you.
Yeah, we got new hats coming next week to celebrate the anniversary. Got some more announcements in the works. But you know what it is. This has been Grapsody. I'm Phil Lindsey. It's Righteous Reg. Shout out to the homie A.O. Baker. Appreciate you guys as always.
Thank y'all.
We're out of here.
Peace.